Live tonight, Architects of Humanity, maxed out. Does education make us smart? Well, honestly, when we look at the people that have been formally educated, they don't fit the bill. Education, as we see, actually destroys creativity. Many experiments have been done, but the educated won't agree with that, especially people that have been trained. Basically, it is obedience school, trained in obedience school. 12 years, 13 years of obedient training. And then people will sentence themselves to another 4 to 8 years. Now, I can understand if you're going to medical school, but as we see today, what are medical doctors? The majority of them. If a doctor isn't asking what you're eating, then that's your dealer, basically dealing you pharmaceuticals, in my opinion, to keep you as a customer. Education will have most people believing that. Remember, when we're going to school and we're young and kids are forced to pledge allegiance to a flag, I mean, what type of torture is that? I mean, that's a very torturous thing. Mike Temper, my brother, good to see you, man. Long time, bro. Always a pleasure, bro. Yeah, man, education is dangerous. The only teacher is reality, experience, and reflection upon that. So when you have an experience, that's not enough. You got to reflect upon that experience because you see people that will repeat that. I think it was ethics. He made a really good point about the coconuts. You know, somebody steal your coconuts, you're not going to trust them. You're going to eventually think about that. You're going to say, look, man, this guy, keeps stealing my coconuts. It's kind of funny when you think about it. It's like, look, man, what did he do? He stole my nuts, man. And eventually you get to a point if you're aware enough, because some people will just continually get their nuts stolen. But other people might say, you know what? I got to protect these nuts from being stolen. But then if we take that logic and apply it to lies, when a teacher lies to you, when you find out that what they've been teaching you is a lie, Columbus discovered America. I mean, that's traumatizing. I'm still traumatized from that. When I went to school, you had an option. In second grade, they were asking that on a test. And I was so stupid. I was like, well, who discovered America? And one kid was like, the Indians, man, the Indians. So, and the teacher said, don't answer it. So, of course, I put that down. I answered it. And she gave it wrong to us and to me. And I remember Miss German, that was her name. Monstrous, hideous looking teacher. I mean, man, when I think of the teachers that I had in elementary school, the only one that was really cool was Miss Claire, my kindergarten teacher. She was a pretty cool person. But the other teachers, not really nice. But now that I look at it from a different perspective, I realize these women had their own problems. I mean, having to sit in a classroom with all these kids, imagine what they went through when they went to school. I mean, society and government is brutal, man. Mike says school is memorization programming. All they teach you to do is submit to authority and believe whatever they tell you. Exactly, man. And you get graded on that too. That's the craziest thing. You got to take a test to show how obedient you are. And you get graded like eggs, grade A or not. And that's horrifying. If parents, and I think about it, man, adults don't tell children the truth. Maybe it's like I would rather be traumatized with the truth when I think about it. It's sort of like you actually get a feeling of togetherness with your family. Really, it brings you to what things really are. It's us against them. If you ain't one of us, you must be one of them. Those are the two people in the world. But every family has people in it that have been zombified. And again, like Bonhoeffer pointed out, against stupidity, we are defenseless. We are defenseless against stupidity, and that's a serious thought to ponder. When that invisible force grips us and grips somebody else, it's like that movie Young Frankenstein, when he sends him to steal a brain from the lab, and he drops one of the brains and it breaks the glass container. So he takes the other one that's called, he thought it said Abby Normal, but it was abnormal. I mean, the the uh, the jokes in that movie was hilarious, but again, the stupidity. You have somebody like an Igor or a minion that follows, and they're going to drop the grenade every now and then. And that against that, we are defenseless. Against our own stupidity, unless we become aware, we are defenseless. Mark, good to see you, man. Always a pleasure, bro. So Nietzsche had, I think we went over a few sayings. Everything the state says is a lie. Everything it has stolen. It's a famous quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. And he gets into a couple of others, how it represents a harsh critique of the state as a cold monster, which is what it is. Like I said before, you get what's in the White House and it's monstrous. It's embarrassing, actually. That's the way I feel. I mean, it's embarrassing. If somebody from another country is like, man, what's up with the president and the cabinets? I'm like, look, man, that ain't even a president. That's a dictator. That's a dictator without a Klan hood on. Basically, what it is. A lot of people might look at that as a little harsh, but it is what it is. Trump's father, Fred Trump, was associated with the Klan, was arrested because of being a monster. And they try to wipe that away off the record. So dirty, very dirty. When you look at Musk doing his so-called hail salute, we'll call it. I mean, how much more? I mean, we are in a time that's it's just really sad, man. I think about humanity not doing nothing basically, but when I say the word humanity, I have to realize once again, it's not all together. It's us and them. Two types of people in the world. That's it, basically. Mr. Rex, brother, thank you for the support. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I was on the other window, man. Good to see
Oh,
you, bro.
good. So good. Here to support the channel, of course, as always. Great topic. And I have my 2 cents as a parent because I did it as a student. I've had my pretty bad experiences, but I can also comment as a parent and how I handled my child in school. You know, what
Hmm.
she experienced. One thing I told her all the time, I told this her all the time. I said, look, I just want you to do your best. If you get an F or a D, I don't care. As long as I know you tried your hardest. And if you need help, I'll help you out. And this is the honest truth. This is exactly how I handled it.
Hmm.
Because I think it is so abusive to a child to expect them to get straight A's or perfection from a parent. That's a form of child abuse, as far as I'm concerned. Because you're putting them in a situation you don't know, especially for a boy, because I think it's worse today than ever for boys rather than girls. For a teacher that may not like them, may have some dislike for them, maybe just because the teacher's a weirdo, has some mental issues, and may want to just give them a bad grade, even though they might deserve a higher grade, because it does happen. Believe me, it's happened to me.
Hmm.
And I never expected perfection out of my daughter. That's like, if I expect her to be perfect, then I should be perfect also, that in my book. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I just could never stand it when I'd see these parents who would just go mental when their kid got a C or something like that, or actually didn't get an A, got a B. It's like,
Hmm.
that is so bad in my book, So that's one thing, it's, you're in a system that is flawed to begin with. First off, if you're sending your kid to public school, then guess what? You're not perfect as a parent if you have to send them to public school. You know, if
Hmm.
you're a perfect parent, you'll send them to the best private school they can. So
Exactly.
right there, you failed as a parent. I mean, if you're holding your standards to perfection, you
Hmm.
failed
Hmm.
in my book. So look at yourself first. These parents, you're putting them in public school for crying out loud. Why aren't you doing private? You know what? You get an F. In my book.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Yeah, and you're right. It is a form of child abuse to hold a child to have straight A's and freak out if they get a C. I mean, what was George Bush Jr.? He was a C student and he was president. You know, it's like to have somebody get an A when I really think about it in a public system that's meant to indoctrinate you is is like an antithesis of learning. Really the one that gets the F is the one that passed, and that sounds crazy.
Well,
Somebody might say, "Wait a second. So you're saying the person that fails the class is the one that actually passed it?" And I would say, "Yeah," because if they're telling me that Christopher Columbus discovered America, George Washington cannot tell a lie when they were like, "Oh, did you chop down the cherry tree?" Yes, I cannot tell a lie. I mean, this is all BS. So the kid
right.
that actually fails might be the kid that is saving their own mind. I think
Sure.
Grace, yeah, the lady that wrote How to Quit School and Get a Real Life in Education, the Teenage Liberation Handbook, she had pointed out in that book, she said the problem is the kids that take to the system that do well. That's the problem. And she was a teacher. She was a sixth grade English teacher. And she said one day she would go in and be nice. The other day she would be a monster. It depended on her mood. So she was very honest about how she treated children due to her attitude because she was human. And I've noticed this with teachers that when I was growing up, the teacher might have a period one day or whatever, and they don't take that into consideration, man.
Or
It
they
just
have hatred towards men because it's usually female teachers, especially at the elementary level. It's like overwhelming, and they might just be angry at the guys for something that happened with their boyfriend. Who knows? I mean, the
Mhm.
emotions are ridiculous. It's sad. It really is.
I think there was a study that showed that female teachers grade the boys lower on
I
average. Yeah,
I
so
I've
it's
heard
yeah,
that study is very accurate.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. They definitely it's brutal. We already know that a lot of them will have some type of vendetta
Yeah,
against the young boys. And what does that say about young boys that need to be brought into manhood by a man
yeah,
to have all of these female teachers? That I said that a long time ago. I said that's the beginning of destroying the young male.
it
Be-
is.
Yeah, yeah, he
You
really.
see it
Yeah.
in the fatherless homes. You can't deny the statistics. It's overwhelming. I mean, in the prison system, it's young met boys who grew up without fathers.
Mhm.
Overwhelmingly, on all races. I'm not excluding it to
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah,
You
no,
see
it's
it
true.
when the father's absent. It's just chaos. It's just
Yeah,
chaos. Boy, yeah.
it's really sad too because to think that maybe they might have a male figure in kindergarten when there was a male teacher. Out of all the teachers that I can think of during in elementary school, there was only one that I knew of that was male. Every other teacher was female. There could have been one more, but there was one specifically. And when I look at that, those aren't the most masculine males either.
I was about to add that in also. That's another fact too. They're usually
Right? So it's like a lose-lose situation. Even, you look at that, it's like, what is it teaching the young boy? What is it really teaching him?
And I heard in Japan that I think it was Japan. Somebody had told me this. I never looked it up, but they separate the sexes. Boys learn in a all boys class,
Mhm.
and an all girls class.
Yep.
And I'm guessing there's probably men teaching the boys too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think. Yeah. I
And look
mean,
how more successful they are. There's no crime rate. The people there, they take pride in their work. Buy
mhm.
Japanese products. They're usually the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah. They also have stuff. My friend who's an MD, he married a Japanese woman many years ago, and he said that they have a thing called moral class in Japan, where they'll teach the kids why it's wrong to steal something.
mm,
Say, okay, everybody, let's go over this. Why is it wrong? They don't have janitors in most of the schools, from what I remember in Japan. The kids clean the school.
wow.
So it's like you're looking at a high standard of self respect, of self awareness, of morality. Not to say that it's perfect because they have an extremely high rate of sue for the
Yeah.
high school students because there's a thing called the test that
Yes.
they have to take, to determine where they're going to be basically pigeonholed in for the rest of their life. Japan is it has a robotic society. And when you look at some situations in there that they sweep under the rug, like it's not as pretty as it looks.
That you're 100% correct. There's always a flaw somewhere in the
Oh
system.
yeah, yeah. The system. I've looked at videos about the legal system there. 99% conviction rate. They torture people. They torture people uh, to get them to admit to a crime that whether they did it or not, they want to keep that rate up. That there's I've seen places in New York like that. There's counties like that. Very, very. They have high conviction rate, but also high overturn rate. I mean, it's horrible. But
Mm.
in the teaching the kids certain things, it is better. Like with the cleaning their own schools, the moralistic understanding. Um, I do think that, yeah, in a way, you do need boys and girls separate for some things, but also kids should be able to learn with different ages because it kind of pigeonholes them when they just grow up in that one age factor. Adults, different type of adults, have to accompany them. They like part of the day they might have a part of the day on the playground where they do see the young girls and boys and they can play a little bit together, and then it's like, okay, we're going back to learn things. And when I really think about it, school needs to be based around learning how to grow food, how to make products. And children are so inquisitive, they're so eager to learn
Hmm.
that there was another study done where they tested kids, I think it was from when they were 2 years old or 3 years old, on creativity. And I think by the time they hit 7 or 8, it was practically gone from schooling. So the child that was inquisitive and happy to learn and very curious about things, it had all but vanished by the time they were about to leave elementary school. Because usually you don't leave it till you're about 10. So yeah, that study is it's really it's sad. It's like, and then when you think if you were to tell a kid the truth, the thing that comes into play is the child is going to think without knowing or saying that, well, why is it like this? Like why does my parent accept a world that's so monstrous and is teaching me about this, without having done anything to change it?
Hmm.
Because that's a question that does come into being. The whole state thing, Nietzsche, makes a good, stuff. He talks the cold monster, which is what it is, lacks genuine human warmth, individuality, and soul. And that's what we see missing from the state. Uh, the state lies in all languages of good and evil, specifically by claiming, I, the state, am the people, which Nietzsche called the falsehood, the stolen goods. Um, the state is considered a destroyer that thrives on stealing the faith, love, and creativity of individuals. So, just like we spoke of, and the purpose, Nietzsche saw the state as a mechanism that imposes artificial, uniform rules, laws, and customs that stifle the creation of new values and human potential. So it gets very deep. So, they try to say, while, cited to support anarchist perspectives, Nietzsche did not offer a constructive political program, rather, a profound skepticism of the state's power and the impact on the individual, which I don't know what age, because at certain ages, some people will not be ready for that. Some people will be ready for that. So that's another thing with schooling and education. Not everybody's going to learn at the same rate.
That's right. A lot of it
And
has to do with their home environment. If they support the kid in learning, they'll obviously be more successful. I mean, that's why you see a lot of Asian students are usually the highest performers, and I think that has to do with their family values.
mhm,
More than it's not natural intelligence; it's family values that
yeah,
are.
yeah, it's true. It's very true. You do notice that the also in certain Oriental countries, they have a different system of math. So they were saying, I think there's statistics showing how certain children with their different system of math just can grasp the concept better, have quicker ways of multiplication, as opposed to the one way that we're told. That's the crazy thing.
Mm.
Instead of telling somebody there's different ways to come to an answer using multiplication and there's shortcuts with division. There used to be programs I remember that would be on TV in the 80s and 90s on how to speed read, on how to multiply certain numbers with certain systems of looking at two numbers by two numbers, and a certain way to add the numbers and get an easier, quicker multiplication answer. And this makes math a little more fun, but it's not taught. It's
No.
like, yeah,
And
it's
one thing they don't encourage, which a lot of successful, I think in the Ivy League they do this. This is very common, especially people in private schools. They'll record the professor or the teacher explaining how to do a certain problem mathematically or whatever it is. They'll record it and be able to play it back again over and over again. Because a
mhm,
lot of times these kids aren't taught that. The teacher will go up, explain how to do a formula, and then boom, now go do your homework.
mhm,
Like that's not really how people learn. Sometimes it's just you have to hear repetition over and over again for it, but it actually sinks in. I
yeah,
think that's just for people of normal, average intelligence. That is a normal way to learn.
yeah,
But they don't encourage good study habits. Whereas in private schools, I know this for a fact, they teach kids how to study. That's a big part of their experience there. They teach them how to learn, and they don't do that in private school. And it's deliberate. I think it's deliberate, personally.
mhm, yeah, yeah. Some of them are definitely better than the public trenches.
Yeah.
Um, the Montessori school used to be one of the best private schools. I spoke with a teacher from that school last month. There was a book, like an author thing at a bookstore, and she was there with a few other authors. And I spoke with her, and she was saying that it changed. It actually, because I remember when it was changing years ago, it used to be a prestigious, really good way, like a free learning type of private school. So one of the top ones that taught in a different way. So it wasn't like your average private school. It was much, much better. It was very free learning. Teachers were, high value. Like you didn't learn in the strict way.
Yeah.
And over the years, it started getting worse and worse until it became like an average private school, which a lot of them, like even Catholic schools, I've heard people have a lot of trauma. My niece used to be in a Catholic school for a while, and I knew other people there. The nuns were rather strict. There's physical punishment. I've noticed that in public school myself, the physical punishment in elementary school with
Hmm.
paddle and stuff like that. And yeah, you look at that, and as you start to just even researching history today and see what happened to a lot of Native American children, it's horrifying. In
It is.
Canadian schools, they were forbidden to speak their language. So it's schooling doesn't really have a a really a good history. It has a dirty, dirty history as far as modern schooling goes.
It really does. I agree 100%. And the only people that can escape are people who have strong family structures. And you see that now in society. A lot of people don't, especially in the lower economic situation. They're growing up in single mother households, and
Mhm.
the recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Really.
Our school, I think, is based on the Prussian system. Ours and Japan's actually. It
Mm-hmm.
was the Prussian model, and that's an 18th, 19th century model. So it's among the first of the the first to introduce tax-funded schools, compulsory primary education, ages 5 to 13 to 14. In the islands, they have a thing where children would go to school up until they're 12 or 13 and take a test called common entrance tests. And if you failed it, you went back home. That was it. I think you got two chances to pass it. If you didn't pass it, that was it. No more education. You were like regulated to the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did, you can go on further. And it was based on a British system too. Emphasizes strict discipline, patriotism. That's the sad part. That's the, it's like, why would you even have that in a school? Basic literacy makes sense to produce loyal citizens and soldiers. That's the thing too.
Oh,
Soldiers.
yep.
So, that's the Prussian education system, often featuring tiered schooling, standardized, state controlled curricula. The compulsory attendance. I remember attendance, man. You go to school, it's like that makes you feel it's dehumanizing to have attendance at the beginning of the class, and they call out everybody's name. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand you want to know who's there, but still, it's like it's very mechanical, very robot type, and strictly enforced by the 19th century, parents facing fines and penalties for truant children. I remember seeing like films and stuff with the Little Rascals and stuff like that, where they'd have to evade the truancy officer. And so if they didn't go to school, they had to worry about adults hunting them down. I mean, that's some scary stuff. I didn't notice that. Like I was working when I was in high school, so it wasn't like I was outside to be hunted down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so a three-tier system, primary, the 8-year Volksschule, people school basically for the masses, and the middle level professionals, academy, uh, the future elite leaders. They have different schools. Uh, Systems introduce specific training for teachers through seminaries, and that started, they say, around the mid 1700s. Uh, the purpose developed to create cohesive national identity. Again, a skilled workforce and compliant citizens following military defeats in the Napoleonic Wars.
Wow.
So, yeah, the history of just some type of basic schooling that we see is not a pretty one. It's definitely not. Mark says it's not the first. The Spartan education system was supposedly to make soldiers too. Yeah. Yeah. The Spartan one is like, yeah, it's not really, yeah. I mean, even the propaganda movie 300 Closets,
Yeah.
uh, that was very brutal. I mean, it starts the movie out with throwing kids away, infants, because what, they didn't look like warriors. I mean, that was horrible in the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a friend of mine, he had saw the movie and he said, yeah, man, this movie is not is not cool, man. It's like 100% propaganda. It's a very hateful movie, and you're teaching people to glorify basically killing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was sad, man. The Persians, it just, I mean, both sides. I can't say that either side was really good. Um, like just talking about it to say, because a kid would say, well, wait a minute, why are these people telling these other people that they can't live freely? And why are the other people, just some of the lines, when you look over it, you start to say, yeah, why would somebody say that? And it's all conditioning. It's all conditioning. I mean, some movies, all the war movies, really. When I look at some of the movies that they pushed, Pearl Harbor, Platoon, that was another one glorifying the horrors of Vietnam. Even though at first you can get addicted to those things, Hamburger Hill with
Mm-hmm.
Chimp Eastwood. he basically, the real story of that was a Colonel Honeycutt that forced the U.S. to take that hill, and and they uh, they had massive casualties and took the hill, and he did it to get promoted to general. And there was rumors that people wanted to frag him with a grenade, and I don't think it happened, but eventually, when he told them that they lost all this life, endured casualties to take the hill, and then were told to abandon it, where the Viet Cong just took it right back over. And
Which movie was this again?
Hamburger Hill.
Okay, because I'm thinking of Heartbreak Ridge, but
Yeah,
it's like Clint Eastwood.
Heartbreak Ridge was another one with
Yeah.
Chimp Eastwood.
Hmm.
Yeah, but Hamburger Hill, because men were basically turned into hamburger meat. Uh, Horrible, horrible. But of course, Chimp Eastwood, uh, you know, as usual, going to try to play the tough guy, and it's sad. Yeah, it's really sad. And there's movies with him doing westerns with, I think, like a 12-year-old kissing her in the lips and stuff like that. Anybody can look it up. Yeah, Clint, basically the pedo. And it's sad when you look at this. These are figures that they try to push up and brainwash us with, and then it always comes out. Even the guy that made Star Trek, they have an interview with him talking about some stuff that was very suspicious about the underage thing. It's like, I mean, when you look at the White House, what it's like, go figure, like go.
Yeah,
Yeah, 300 closets, man. Yeah,
100 closets.
just yeah. So does education makes us smart, but it doesn't seem to. I
No.
mean, our intelligence, like, I think it was John Taylor Gatto, he had talked about that. He said he was a teacher in Manhattan for 30 years. He passed, I think, a few years ago. Amazing, amazing person on the critical look at schooling. He called it the public school trenches. And he said his videos are still on YouTube. He talked about school being a form of adoption. And I'm like, wow, that's a really realistic way of looking at it. He goes, because the kid is sent there, and it's basically, now those are the daytime adoption agencies that, not only is it a daytime adoption agency, their arm, like the long arm of the law, reaches past the school. Homework was horrible. I remember, it's like, why would I want homework? It's like I'm trying to be done with this as soon as I leave. And, oh, so you got homework today. It's like, homework was torturous. It was torturous when I think about that. It's like, so wait a second, I can't even be free when I go home?
No.
And like Grace Llewellyn said, the kids that take to that are the ones that's the biggest problems, the ones that don't rebel. And those are the people that grow up to fit right into the system. They're perfect cogs for the machine. And that's what keeps it going, man. I mean, I don't think education does make people smart. Trade school, you'll get a skill, and it seems much more practical than college courses that don't really lead anywhere. Like
No.
most people, yeah.
Most bachelor's degrees are like an advanced high school. You're still
Mhm,
taking the same type of classes, learning about Shakespeare and English lit and math. I mean, it's high school all over again, basically.
mhm. It's classes to brainwash more people,
Hmm.
to say, okay, what are you going to get a job as a teacher to brainwash more people? Liberal arts and stuff like that. It's like,
Hmm.
I can understand a skill, medical, legal, psychological. There's a few things, not too many. But then you have the majority of it is just stuff that is not really you're not gonna get employment with that. A lot of people that get degrees don't end up working in the field that they got the degree in.
No, that's very true. I mean, like, great, William Shakespeare. I was never a big fan. Some people are, and that's fine, but that's not going to help you get a job. I mean,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Well, there is a conspiracy about him saying that it seemed like it was a group of people that were writers that posed as William Shakespeare. So,
really.
yeah, let me see. Group of writers who posed as Shakespeare. Yeah, there was. Let me see. So, mainstream scholars attribute the works of William Shakespeare of Stratford upon Avon authorship skeptics or Stratfordians have proposed several theories that Shakespeare was a pen name for a single individual or a group of writers.
Wow.
There is no consensus on a single group, but several prominent theories suggest collaborative authorship or elite individuals hiding behind a pseudonym. The Orthodox or the Oxfordian group theory, a significant number of theorists argue that Edward de Vere, 17th Earl of Oxford, was the primary author. So some suggest that he may have worked with a group of others, so educated aristocrats, writers, and so forth, to produce the plays, pointing toward the similarities with the works of Sir Francis Bacon or Mary Sidney.
Wow. And you know what's funny about stuff like that? Some people say, "Oh, I love Shakespeare. He's so great." But was he really that great, or was it just forced on you to think it was great because that's what school told you what was great?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly. It's
Yeah.
like it was marketing. So it was marketed to us. The
Hmm.
Baconian group, Sir Francis Bacon and Mary Sidney. And so the Baconian group theory, proponents of this theory, they say, argue that Francis Bacon was the genius behind the plays. And
Mm.
some suggest he led a group of scholars and poets to help him write, which makes more sense. So
Yeah.
the group of writers collaboration theory, some researchers suggest it
And,
plays a collaborative effort. Yeah.
and because it was done by the elites or the high society at that time, it's a masterpiece by default. Just for that, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Mark says if the education is just memorizing facts other people tell you, then it doesn't make one smart. That's not thinking. Exactly, man. Exactly. Fecal matter. Eastwood wasn't in Hamburger Hill. I didn't. Wow, I thought it might have been Heartbreak Ridge, but
I was thinking
yeah.
Heart.
Let me see. And they say John Wayne was closet too.
I would
Yeah.
tell what did Hollywood forget at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. They say he was. Let me see. Clint Eastwood, Hamburger. Uh,
Maybe he's played a supporting role. Who knows?
I thought he was. All right, Heartbreak Ridge. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
He was a
Um,
bridge, yeah.
all right, who played in Hamburger Hill? I thought Hamburger Hill was all right, 1987. It's kind of odd. Hmm. I guess it was Heartbreak Ridge, yeah, but that's hmm. And the actors here, I don't really recognize them for Hamburger Hill. Yeah, that's kind of odd, man.
Hmm.
I guess they would call it a Mandela effect type of thing
Yeah.
from Hamburger Hill, man. So yeah, Heartbreak Ridge, you're right. Yeah, that's yeah, Bronson too, they say wasn't the coolest guy, man. Yeah, they say that I think it was the guy who played in the Rockford Files.
Oh, I
I
remember him. I can't remember the name, but
Yeah, he Bronson was gambling with the guy on set, like one of the workers, and he lost and didn't want to pay him.
wow.
And the guy from Rockford Files made him pay him. Because Bronson wasn't a big guy. Bronson, let me see, what was Charles Bronson?
I
Uh,
heard the guy from Little House on the Prairie was a major alcoholic, but he played
yeah, he,
Mike
who?
Land.
Michael Landon?
Michael Landon was a major alcoholic.
Wow.
I thought I heard that.
Wow. Yeah, Charles Bronson was 5'9", so honestly, he was probably 5'8". So, because you know how they lie.
Mhm.
Oh, he was yeah, they said, he became muscular from uh in a prison cell using nothing but body weight and boredom. So who was the guy from the Rockford Files? Actor from Rockford Files. That was James Garner. So he was the one that, you know, he saw what Bronson was doing. And, John Wayne closet, I wouldn't put it past any of them. I mean, they're all suspicious. We already know with Hollywood, you
And the
know,
way they show the wars and how they behave, it just creates this false image that impresses the young mind. Like, oh, I can be like John Wayne or I can be like Clint Eastwood, and that's not
Mhm.
reality. That has
Yeah,
nothing to do with reality. There's no real people who can do what they do in real life. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. It really, yeah, when you think about it, man, yeah, there's a lot of conditioning. I remember a science teacher that I knew. I didn't have him as a teacher in high school, but we talked years later, I would say over a decade later. And I saw him again in a barber shop, and he was like, "Hey, come down to the science class." He goes, "I want you to sit in on the class."
Hmm.
And I sat in, and this was like close to 2000, late 90s, close to 2000, because it was after Gattaca had came out, and he had given his students a handout, like one of the 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 class curriculum was to watch Gattaca. And I was like, wow. And it was to talk about the things they saw in the movie and answer questions. And Gattaca was a deep movie because Gattaca dealt with the genetics, where if you did not have your child using in vitro fertilization to
Hmm.
pick out the best genes, then that child was considered somebody that could not work in certain areas of society. They were regulated to like maintenance.
Hmm.
And Ethan Hawke played in that. The other actor, Jude Law, Uma Thurman, a few others. There was a little clip with Ernest Borgnine and a few others. And Ethan Hawke, of course, in that film, he had got leg lengthening because his younger brother Anton, was born with the in vitro fertilization. So he was always supposed to be the promising child. And Ethan Hawke's child, I think, ended up wearing glasses. At time of birth, they would determine how long you would live. They gave him like 30 years. And his determination had pushed him to say, look, he always wanted to go into space on a shuttle. He would see them launch, and his father told him the only way you're going to see the inside of a shuttle is if you're cleaning it. And he left, and he got with somebody who would sell people's identities. It's called a broken ladder. Somebody who was genetically engineered, but an accident happened. And now if you can pass for them, they'll sell their genetics card basically to you so you can go further in life. Alexis, brother, thank you for the support, bro. He says, off topics, but thoughts on the DB Cooper case. I don't know. Have you heard who that is? I don't
I
know.
just looked it up because
Look it up.
he had mentioned in the chat. I wanted to see what it was about.
Yeah.
Something to do
What
with
do you get?
hijack or something like that. A mysterious guy who hijacked an airplane, a Northwest airplane, but I don't know the details. I really
DB Cooper, best known as DB Cooper, unidentified man who hijacked Northwest Airlines. Okay, let me see. Who was DB Cooper? All right, so this is a guy in 71. So he parachuted over Washington State in 1971. extorted 200,000 in ransom. Subject of unsolved commercial hijacking. Holy smokes! Without a trace into a snow. He looks kind of CIA-ish. I don't know why I get that feeling.
Get Agent Smith written all over him.
Yeah, he's definitely got some Agent Smith in there. Uh, on Thanksgiving Eve, November 24th, 1971, the man identifying himself as Dan Cooper boarded the flight from Portland, Seattle to Seattle. Uh, and he told the flight attendants he was carrying an explosive, demanded 200,000, which was the equivalent to over 1.6 million now, and 4 parachutes.
Hmm.
Wow. So, I wonder what the the conspiracy is on this. The FBI investigated. He probably was working for the FBI. You know how I think. It's like you can't trust none of these guys, man. They probably make it seem like he was oh, this guy, Um
MD, when you get a chance, I uploaded a photo. I just want to
oh,
get
I
your
see it.
opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Is that like the UFO one? I think you showed this
Oh,
years
did
ago.
you show that same one? Because this was a better, clearer picture. I don't know if I ever
Hmm.
showed that. Yeah, it
Wow.
looked like an
Wow.
orb from a distance, an orb. It didn't look like that, but I was able to
It
enhance it.
looks like it looks like a craft, definitely.
Made no sound either.
Almost triangular. Looks kind of triangular. I mean, from the
It's got some
angle.
structures underneath it. And there were 20 of them. It wasn't just one. It was like 20 of them.
Wow, and you managed to get this photo
Yeah, with an old. This is over 10 years ago.
with a cell phone cam?
Yeah, the iPhone, the early version of the
It's a
iPhone.
pretty good pic, though. Yeah, for nighttime. Yeah.
I was able to enhance it. That's how I was able to get it so clear because it wasn't like this originally, but I was able to enhance it a number of times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with all the UFO disclosures that's going on right now, I figure it'd be a good time just to upload this, and you can keep it for the files. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. No, this
If you can
I
enhance
mean,
it better, I'd love to see what it is because it's definitely a UFO. And what's interesting too, when I was looking up the orbs,
mm-hmm.
remember the year that I took the picture. I knew it when I was looking, but that year, those orbs were spotted all over the country. Even in Philadelphia, they were reporting those orbs. So that was happening all over the country, not just where I was. It was like these orbs
Uh-huh.
were appearing everywhere. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. A lot of people are saying, I mean, I say too that it's like that a it's like a distraction.
Could be.
The UFO, like they want to release UFO files, but they're not releasing the Epstein files.
Hmm.
So it's like it just kind of, you kind of think like, wow, they'll do anything but with the DB Cooper thing that Alexis had asked about, thoughts on DB Cooper. Appreciated, Alexis. Um, it says, I mean, my thoughts is like, I just get the feeling maybe it's an inside job type of thing. And they
Hmm.
do have, it says key conspiracy theories and suspects, the inside job, crew collusion suggests the flight crew members were involved. Holy smoke. Holy smokes. Proposing a friend brought a ticket and acted as Dan Cooper. And then there's another guy, Richard McCoy, popular suspect. So they're saying McCoy hijacked the plane 4 months later and used similar methods. Um, that the FBI covered up his involvement. Wow. That some believe he was the actual hijacker. Walter R. Recca, a new, heavily researched suspect touted as a friend of a friend. Holy smoke. So this is a deep this rabbit hole goes deep, man. Disappearing money. So ransom money found at a Tina bar in 1980. Key evidence, the tie in rare metals. So Cooper left behind a black tie on a plane, which later investigations discovered was covered in over 100,000 microscopic particles, including rare earth metals such as unalloyed titanium, bismuth, strontium sulfide, suggesting he was in the aerospace industry. Hmm, that's kind of deep, man. That is FBI status. So they closed the case in 2016, but still examined new evidence. Private sleuths continue to lead searches. Yeah, these guys, this on my thoughts on this, I would say, yeah, something is very, very odd on this. I don't put it past them for having it as a whole, some type of a hoax to I mean, we already know what they accused the CIA of with the Contras in Central America and Ollie North. That's the craziest thing. The guy who was accused of using the Contra stuff to sell illegal arms to Iran is now a military analyst about weapons being sold to Iran. You can't even make this stuff up. It's like, it writes itself. It writes itself. Yeah, yeah, Agent Cooper. He might DB Cooper might be Agent Cooper, kind of. Yeah, could be nutcase. Yeah, he definitely could be nutcase. Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, you got to remove the photo from the back because if I remove it, Mr. X, it'll kick you off. Yeah, it'll
Let me
kick the
do that
stream.
right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, wow. Wow, I didn't know about that guy. Thanks, Alexis. That's like news. Yeah, I didn't know about that, man. It's yeah, Charles Bronson, they pushed him up a lot, man. He was I have to admit, I've watched some of his shows. One of them that I liked was The Mechanic. I don't know if you ever saw that. He was a hitman.
I
And
remember the Mechanic. I mean, I liked Hard Times. That was a great movie.
that was a good
Even
one.
First Death Wish was a great movie too.
Yeah, with James Coburn, Hard Times. And then
Yeah,
yeah,
Hard-
Death Wish, yeah, it had some good ones.
the first one though. The first one. There was a movie too he made about a serial killer, a guy who killed women in the nude, who was kind of weird, but I
Really? No, I didn't know about that
can't
one.
remember the name of that movie. But he kills him at the end. Yeah, I mean, just because these guys were, maybe not the best people off camera, that like Clint Eastwood, he made a lot of good movies. I mean, I'll admit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he had a few good ones. I'll give it to him. Their propaganda. The one with the 12-year-old girl wasn't really too. I forgot the name of it.
Mm.
It was kind of messed up. It was kind of. They got the clips on YouTube. Clint Pedo. And he's like, I think she might have even been as young as 10. I'm not sure, but definitely between the 10 and 12 age, and like kind of like coaxing her to kiss him, on the lips while they were like hiding out, like at a shootout or something. His whole he played to that whole rebel thing, the outlaw Josie Wales. Um, there was a few others. I have to admit, the movie that I liked, it was one of those movies that you watch at 2 in the morning, and it just gives you that feel like you're back in time. Was
Hmm.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh yeah, way
Yeah,
back.
watching that late at night, it was like wow, and who was it? Oh, I forgot the guy's name, Leon or something, or Sierra or something.
Mhm.
With the music, because that score was really deep, with the it just gives you a feeling like you're back in the Western times.
Sure.
That one, and it was during the war, I think. Uh, yeah, yeah, that one, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I didn't really care too much for the other ones, but they did have some funny scenes. For a few dollars more,
Hmm.
a fistful of dollars, and then for a few dollars more, and then Two Mules for Sister Sarah. Uh, Levon Cleith was a great actor, I have to admit.
Hmm.
The guy who played the bad, you know.
Well, remember, there's other people involved in the making of these movies. It's not just about Clint Eastwood. There's other people that
Hmm.
made it good. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's major productions. A lot of people involved in these productions. So people you don't even know about that we, not that famous.
yeah. Sergio Leone, that's the guy.
Oh,
Directed by Sergio Leone. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah, that's probably one of the best westerns. I would say, like it's epic. It's epic. It was it deconstructs the old West romanticism. So yeah, yeah. And John Wayne, they say, refused to work with Clint Eastwood on a Western film due to his belief that it favored Eastwood's style.
Right.
Wayne, kind of paranoid as usual. Maybe they didn't want to get in the closet with each other. Who knows?
I could be.
Um,
There's so many closeted actors.
it,
Ridiculous.
yeah, it's so closet. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's like closet wood. Instead of Hollywood, it's closet wood.
And we're talking about the old actors. I mean, they had videos on YouTube you can see about all the older actors who were closeted. I mean, it's out of control. It's like huge numbers.
Mhm.
Paul Newman
Yeah,
was up this
yeah.
year.
Diego knows. He got the whole download, man. He knew of like so much stuff that went on in Hollywood going back to the early 1920s, man.
Hmm.
He yeah, he really it's like wow, man. Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
think of the Greeks in Hollywood, I mean Hollywood, but the Greeks in their plays going back to ancient time, it was all men, and it was
Oh
probably
yeah. Yeah.
custom men with there, so it probably
Yep.
originated from
Oh
ancient
yeah,
time.
they were open. If they needed to play women, they would get dressed up. You had that was like a normal thing. Yeah, yeah, in the Greek theater, and slaves were mandatory for slaves to go to the theater to be brainwashed. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's like when you look into some of these laws, it's just like what the heck is going on? You know, uh, yeah,
I mean, the fact is, if we want to get to the truth, it's going to be ugly. You can't get away from that. It's going to be ugly, and
they're
that's the
raw
reality.
and uncut. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be pleasant to see. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's not. It's just the truth is what it is.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
Like,
It's
yeah,
usually
you might see like, you look at it, but yeah, when you've been lied to, that's when the truth comes out and it ain't pretty.
right.
So, but if you search for it, sometimes, it has a liberation to it, mental liberation when you start to realize like stuff you realize like, wow, schooling wasn't beneficial in many ways. Not always, but many ways. Like John Taylor Gatto, he made some good points, and John Holt, considered to be the father of homeschooling
Hmm.
um, from the early 1900s. I remember studying about him. I think I learned about him. Uh, Let me see. John Holt, American author and educator. Yes. So you're looking at 1923 to 1985. So he basically, him and I think Gatto was saying that children, like we don't learn to read and write in school, really. We learn to read and write mostly at home.
Yeah.
Um, it requires sometimes reading, it requires touching. Like he said, sometimes a kid would want to sit next to the teacher and to a point where the elbows are touching or the forearm is touching, some type of physical contact in that way. Some teachers reported that children wanted to be in a room alone to where they can, so now that there's no distractions, there's no peer pressure stress on them to learn. And yeah, it yeah, when I think about it, it's like, yeah, Holt, yeah, his thing was growing without schooling. GWS was the first magazine published about homeschooling, unschooling. They would call it deschooling, stuff like that. I remember Grace Llewellyn would talk about that a lot. The lady who wrote the Teenage Liberation Handbook. So unschooling is a term first coined by John Hope because you have to deschool and unlearn what you were programmed to learn. Brother
Mm,
Ali, good to see you, man. He said, "Don't let schooling interfere with your education."
thing. That's a very
Yeah,
good
so,
thing there.
yeah, man,
And so
definitely.
people that downgrade homeschooling because like, oh, you're not getting socialized or whatever. But if you're going to a terrible school system where, gangs are present or this and that, you're probably better off being homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
Mm-hmm.
want to get into trouble and get arrested, get a record, and end up
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or get traumatized by bullying and stuff.
right?
Yeah, the mechanic, the ending of the mechanic with Charles Bronson, that was really, really, yeah, it was definitely good. Yeah, most kids can learn to read before kindergarten. Definitely, man. It's
I learned
definitely.
to read really by reading comic books, Marvel comic books.
Hmm. That's another way too, and
Yeah.
it's a fun way to learn to read. It's a fun way to learn to read, understand art. Uh, you become kind of intuitive. There's a lot of things that comic books do for kids that they don't realize.
Because Marvel had some very, it wasn't just elementary wording. They actually had some words in there that were, I'd have to look up in a dictionary. What does that mean? But it got me motivated to figure out
Hmm.
what the character is saying to the other character.
Yeah, yeah, that's clearly that's the true way of learning. When
Hmm.
you want to know something and you look it up, you learn that word and you remember it at that point.
Yes.
So it has some type of some natural flow to it.
And why
Yeah,
can't learning be fun? Why can't it be fun? Because they certainly don't make it that way in the public schools.
exactly. Oh man, it's brutal in the public schools. It's totalitarian, basically.
Hmm.
And that when you think about it, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
They
think
get you because they know if they can't, if you don't get the basics foundation, they know that they'll set you up for failure. They just know it. They know what they're doing. You know.
yes,
And they need people to join the military. And it's like you were talking about the military too, to be good soldiers, but that's kind of propaganda too, because yeah, we all want to fight for our country and be patriotic. But if you look back at all these wars, were we really fighting for our country?
definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It was basically it's like you're fighting people that you don't even know who they are. You're
Yeah.
told to hate them. You're told that, these are, like they say, old men sending young men to die.
Yes.
Old, bitter men, old, greedy, bitter men. I mean, it's monstrous. It's basically monstrous. Uh, yeah,
I
it
mean, the
really.
Iraq War, let's face it, it was for oil. I mean, maybe some other things too, but let's just keep it
Mhm.
real.
General Smedley from the Marines. He said that war is a racket, and this is a general from the Marines. I mean, let me see, General Smedley.
Doesn't get any realer than that. If he's
Yeah,
called,
General Smedley Butler. Yeah, amazing. I mean, this guy is real. He was a let me see. He was he a major general? Let me see. He was a major general, so a two-star general basically. And he knew. It's like, look, man. He's like, this is a racket, man. This is a racket. He to come out and say that because he had protected, I think it was oil cartels in Mexico
hmm
for drilling that destroyed a lot of artifacts too. They said he passed at 18. Let me see if this is the man. Let's see. The mind, is that you?
Yeah, hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man? Just checking. Just had to put
hey,
the
good to see
shield
you.
up. Check it. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. It's always good to be more not leery but cautious of just because it has the name on there, I wouldn't trust it either.
Yeah, yeah. You got a different avatar, I noticed. That's why I did it. Because
Yeah, it's gonna get to the point where you can't even trust the voice.
yeah, yeah, they definitely, you're right about that. Yeah, yeah. It definitely yeah, man. Yeah, General, I didn't know he died so young, 58. Wow. So he was the Maverick Marine, the old gimlet eye, the fighting Quaker. Wow, this guy, born in 1881. Holy smokes. He died in 1940, the Philippine War. So at least he came out and told it. That's probably why he died at 58. There probably something happened. He got the Medal of Honor in Veracruz, so that's in Mexico. World War One Medal of Honor recipient. Uh, so he was a one-star general in 1921. Wow, man, that later years, yeah, General Smedley, man, bonus army. During his Senate campaign, he spoke out forcefully about the veterans bonus, veterans of World War One, many of who have been out of work since the Great Depression. Wow, man. It's like anti-war lectures. Wow, to have a former general or a general, I don't know if he was an active general at the time, he spoke out against war profiteering. Wow. And the U.S. military adventurism of what he viewed as nascent fascism in the United States. Smedley was the man. Holy smokes. And his death after retirement, he bought a new home in Newton Township, Delaware County, where he lived with his wife. He checked himself into a hospital after becoming sick. His doctor described the illness as incurable. And they try to say cancer. I think they off this guy. Yeah, seems that they off this guy, man. Highly decorated general. Yeah, that's when these guys speak out, you got to listen. You know, you got to say, look, man, you know, there's something. Yeah, you have anything to add in the mind? Just go right ahead, bro.
Okay. First, I would probably want to say whistleblowers don't typically last long if they don't go into hiding or something. That is a thing that happens. The other thing I did want to talk about, y'all were talking about like education
Hmm.
and the educational system. I was kind of thinking about that a little bit, and I was kind of thinking also about how the tactics that the oppositional forces use, which is like this. It's kind of like a uh, they go to the extreme, so they're like when they talk about freedoms, or I was thinking about intellectual property rights to be more specific. And when they talk about freedoms, they're like, okay, look, either we have these laws and these rules where we have intellectual property rights, or we don't have anything like that, and we could just steal all of your ideas because you don't want to play by the rules, so we don't have to play by any rules either. And I always see this dynamic play out in authority, the authorities, uh, like playbook, where they're like, okay, you don't want us to protect you, then you want us to defund the police. Okay, well then you want to defund the police. Okay, we're not going to help you then. Like if someone's robbing your store or someone's hurting you, then go find someone else because you want to defund us, right? So it's kind of like a protection racket thing. That's one thing I was realizing where they will get what we want. Like if we're like, okay, this is how it should be, and then they take it to the extreme, and they're like, okay, is this what you want? Because you're saying you want this stuff, and it's just like, no, we don't want this over control of information when it comes to like intellectual property rights. Like I think it's crazy. I can't sit in public and watch, let's say, uh, a show, a certain show, because it has intellectual property rights, and I would be considered to be illegally broadcasting a thing if I'm watching it in public and other people could see it. That's crazy. Like that's crazy that we can't relay information to each other because people with money are saying we're not allowed to talk about it. And, and if you try to flip that on the flip side and like, yo, we shouldn't have all this restrictions, then they're like, okay, well, we're just going to mass take all of your data, and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't want restricted information, right? So we should have full access to everything, all of your information. And that, yeah, that's it. That's what I was thinking. How do we go about addressing or coming up against this oppositional force where they literally poison the water? If they don't, if you do anything they don't want you to, then they'll literally make sure that nobody can enjoy the things that everybody wants to do or wants to take part in. And yeah, the educational system kind of goes right into that because the poisoning of the information, like what is true? No one knows what the hell truth is anymore. and that's directly tied to the whole educational system. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah. The educational system destroys truth. It gets people to code it with lies. If you talk to people that have graduated high school, they really don't know anything. It's now with the whole 25 years after 9/11, and people just don't care, man. It's like they don't even know what a catastrophe, what a setup, what a lie it was. And like you said, what how could somebody say that you can't watch something in public? And it's a totalitarian state disguised as freedom, saying, oh yeah, you're free to do exactly as we tell you. Freedom of speech, just watch what you say. So how free is the speech? And then you have
And where
this.
you say it at. Watch what you say and where you're saying it, and make sure you have permission before you say it.
Exactly. And then they'll say, oh, but it's freedom. Yeah, it's just it creates the mental conflict, what they call a cognitive dissonance, two opposing thoughts in the mind. So now you get regular people walking around that's so confused when you try to talk to them about something. That's why they seem like they're a mental patient from an asylum, in my opinion. It just really it seems to be getting worse. They say that now a lot of the children are not as smart or smarter than their parents. Usually you would see that progression happening in the decades of long ago. The children would be accomplishing more, they would be understanding more. But like what objective ethics had said about technology, which is very, very profound and realistic, that just because we can create a an automobile, say, that can ride, it doesn't make it better, because that same automobile, it requires us to pollute the water, to pollute the air and the land by creating the rubber tires, by creating the gasoline and the oil, and then the pollution that is created with the combustion of that as well. A horse and carriage, even though it's slower, it actually benefits because the horse fertilizes the carriage, less noise too. So that's another thing people don't realize. Noise pollution is a serious problem. The creation of certain, let's just say, the amplifier for sound. When we look at these things disguised as a musical instrument, that's a military weapon. Sound is a military weapon when it's amplified. We can see it when people drive around blasting their radios. It's very intrusive, and that's not good. It also can be used to mentally program people. Education pushes this hard. Kasparov, good to see you. He says a student becomes slaves while C students becomes, yeah, CEOs. Yeah, look at the Bush. Couldn't have been more than a C student. I mean, it really makes you wonder, man. With John Holt, I give him a lot of credit as an educator. You know, definitely the so-called godfather of homeschooling. And yeah, he it says here John Caldwell Holt. John Caldwell Holt. He after he was teaching elementary school for a few years, and he wrote the book How Children Fail in 1964. That's a deep title. I remember hearing that. So to write a book How Children Fail in 1964, and then he followed it up with How Children Learn in 67, and both books were popular. That started Holt's career as a consultant to American schools. And by the 70s, he decided he would try reforming the school system and began to advocate homeschooling. And when you think about it, it's like, wow. So that was in 70, and he passed 15 years later at 62. Wow, that's still kind of young. Um, he wrote a total of 11 books, a newsletter, Growing Without Schooling. So this guy's a revolutionary. See, that's a revolutionary. It's a nonviolence, They say art is rebellion without violence. And this is why some art people are so worried about certain art. And art covers more than just drawing. It's spoken art, written art, those are forms of art. Language, producing videos, media, that's another form of art that is a rebellious act without having to be violent. And teaching, that's another. Uh, that is a rebellion without violence. These are what you choose to buy with your dollar. That's another revolution without violence. What you choose to eat, that's a revolution without violence. So there are so many things that we can do that are revolutionary and rebellious that is peaceful. And they fear that we see that. They definitely fear that we see that because that's much more powerful than things that are violent. Violence is just goes without saying. Sometimes you need to protect yourself. There's no doubt about that. But
Well, I want to add, the thing they try to do is they want to have us in the mentality of might makes right, right? So that, because that's how they go about things. Like that's how
Mhm.
they maintain their political structure. But in reality, a a leader will, it happens through natural collaboration, and normally people do have certain thoughts. We have certain patterns and certain ways of reacting to situations, and a lot of times people do not actually vocalize, or like put actions to the things that they actually want to do. Like, and the part of the action is vocalizing it,
Yeah.
because you could think about something but not know how to actually say it, and then past the saying it is doing something about it.
Hmm.
So yeah, creation, art is all about creation, and art art is about, I think, the expression of something, anything, and the observation also, because you can't express something without first observing or experiencing something. So art is about expression, and art is about communication, and beyond words. And
Hmm.
yeah, I do think that is the thing that scares people. Like the people in power want to control, and they want to maintain, like, surveillance. And when information is being passed down through art, it can be cryptid. It can be like a metaphor or a parable, and the truth is hidden within one's own imagination. Like, you need to use your imagination to understand what the heck is being actually said or what's going on. So yeah, art is a scary thing for those that don't understand, like, how to interpret what's being said. Okay, that's it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they fear that. They fear a good idea is dangerous. There's nothing that can stop a good idea. Armies, politicians, nothing can stop a good idea. When its time has come, it's it's indestructible. It's unstoppable. And that's why I think they don't want people to think, because when you think, you get ideas. And that's very powerful to be able to think your way out of this so-called matrix. They always look for, like you said, a violent answer. They want people to think about violence all the time. That's the whole evolutionary religion, because the Big Bang, the violent start of the universe, the struggle for life, the violence, and that's how we got to where we're at. And I was seeing something with Neil deGrasse Tyson. It was horrible. He's a monster, and he's saying, "Oh, we can't contemplate the fourth dimension because we evolved on the plains of Africa." And this, and I'm like, this guy is just a buffoon. He's a state plant. To say something, it's like, wait a minute, you don't know if people so-called transformed from apes to humans. He is the perfect Stephen from Django character that keeps the plantation in line. And when people see him, it's hard for them to call out racism because they're putting a black man in charge of saying that the first men that were created from apes that transformed were black. So now, if that were a white man saying that, they could say, that's kind of racist. So they get their little minion, they get their house dog to say that. And then you have a whole bunch. Like I talked to some guys on the stream earlier today, and one of the guys on there was a strong proponent of evolution. He was a black guy with other white guys on there. And they were united in hating one type of people, which we know people talk about in the Middle East that I don't say a lot about on the show. And I noticed that. I said, wow, these guys are united in hatred. And when I brought up the evolution thing, they I could see that it hit a part of them that they didn't expect could be hit. And I noticed the immaturity in people. They started cursing, and stuff like that. And I was like,
Why do
look,
they do that, MD? We got to look at why they do that because it seems to be a common thing, the cursing and the how it
mhm,
hurts. Why does it hurt them? That's the question.
yeah, it the immaturity. It's
Yeah.
like I think it hurts them, or really it triggers disrespect, like objective ethics had so wisely pointed out, that it triggers an emotional response because they don't respect themselves. If they respected themselves, because it begins with that. It begins with self-respect. If you respect yourself, you cannot disrespect somebody else because you respect yourself too much to act in that manner. If anybody can listen to some of the stuff that they've said, if
Hmm.
it were recorded, and see how immaturely they behaved, how abrasive sometimes their words could be. And I know this better than most people because I've been on a lot of shows. I've had a lot of pre-recorded stuff where I've just said a lot of things that I could have. I'm glad that I matured from. I can still fall back into that behavior, but at least I can see it and say, yeah, that's not the way I'd like to behave. So I won't behave like that. And
But can I
yeah.
just? I've been on Breakfast Tacos channel, and of course, I have a theistic belief, and I believe in a God. But I never ever got angry with them for not accepting my belief ever. It didn't hurt me. It didn't offend me. It's like whatever. You don't believe. You don't believe. I'm fine with that. But there's got to, you know what I mean? It's something deeper going on there. Is it also too that they're defending a lie and they just don't want to admit it?
They with the stuff that you told them, they've attacked you before verbally?
Sure, sure. You don't
Wow.
understand the process of evolution. You don't get it. You're just not educated in that field. That's why you shouldn't talk about it. And they just, but there is no God. And it's like, I don't get offended because you said there's no God. It's like, fine. If you want to believe there's no God, that's okay with me. There's
Hmm.
no skin off my back. And
Yeah,
I
well,
don't, I'm defending a lie.
well, the difference is you're not brainwashed or like sucked into a religion because any religion is going to always try to recruit other people into the religion if you are religified.
Hmm. Well, it seems like MD said in the past, it's more of a cult than anything
Yeah.
else. That it's a cult, and they don't know they're in a cult in a way.
Well, that's what I think. I also personally, I think anything. I think religion in itself is a type of cult. Like you can't have a cult without having religious tendencies in there, because religion is like a set of patterns, a certain set of beliefs, like dogmatically.
But don't you think a cult, the differences between, let's say, just a religion and a cult is if you try and disagree with what they're saying, they attack you. Or if you try and get out of it and say, look, I'm not going to agree with what you're saying, you're ostracized or so
Yeah,
forth.
religion. Yeah, that's how religion does it. That's
Not,
how if you religion is just it's not. I'm not even talking about specifically spiritual belief systems. I'm talking about any belief system that you hold firmly to that falls in line with like dogmatic belief systems. If someone just told you this is what it is and then you just believe it, that's a religious belief system, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Mm,
it's based on belief. Like
okay.
if we see what do cults and religions have in common, it's belief. And of course, cult is the abbreviated word for culture.
Mhm.
And look at
What's a blind belief?
yeah, but well, look at we could take the, and this is nothing against people that are born into the religion of of Islam. They, you know, if they leave that, it says it that they're now considered an apostate and that they should be ended.
Mhm.
So they can't leave it. So it's defined as a cult. Um,
And
also,
science too. I just want to say can be a religion. I've told atheists that if you believe that science is the only way to find truth, you sir, you that's called scientism. So your religion is science.
I
If you
agree.
believe that's the only way to truth.
yeah,
I
well,
agree
they are a
with that
cult.
with the mind.
Well, look at the word. They believe there's no God. It's a belief.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't know for sure. This is why I say that everyone is an agnostic. Nobody knows for sure. Now, what we do know is that we can see what it's not. So we know it didn't happen by chance. We know that for sure. When we look at genetics, when we look at mathematics, logic, reason, we can see that, okay, the math, this is amino acids are not going to form into a protein by chance. Blood clotting systems are not going to develop by chance. So we know what it's not. And we say, okay, so we don't know who or what created what we see, but we know it's not chance. So everybody, in a way, doesn't know. Like if they say they know, we can only confirm that they don't know. So if somebody says, look, they know that there's no creator or creational force that is like that created humanity, the atheist. So instead of a theist, they're an atheist. But really, to know, gnosis, it's more agnostic, agnostic, what would be said. Um, Now we go into creationism. When they call me a creationist, that is like, that is so ignorant because the person that's saying that, the atheist, the evolutionist, they believe that the universe existence is created by chance. And the key word again, created, just
Yeah.
like the atheist believes. So they have a belief system and they believe it was created in a certain way. But yet, anybody that says it was created on purpose, they will try to call them a creationist as if it's a type of slur. And James Torr, who's a PhD, very high level, he pointed that out in very well. He didn't point out what I said about how they're creationists as well. He pointed out that that's the last slur that they can call him openly without being, looked at as being prejudiced, saying, "Oh, you're a creationist." But meanwhile, when I thought about that, I said, "But wait a minute, they think that the existence was created in a different way, so they're creationists as well." The ignorance is almost stifling when you look at people who believe in the evolutionary lie in their religion. Mr. X put in a great video. It's a great video on dimensions. If you want to check this out on YouTube, so we have that
I thought
there.
that was the best explanation. If you watch that video, really, and the way they describe it makes a lot of sense, and it's easy to understand.
Hmm.
So I just thought I'd share it with everybody.
Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, definitely. Great video on dimensions. Meta Productions, A111. Education is supposed to be pragmatic. If someone is being educated in nonsense, that would not make them smart. Good question. Wow, thanks, man. Yeah. First time seeing A111 here. Good to see you.
Because one thing it said, just to, because we talk about this subject, is that in the fourth dimension, like in here, we're subject to time. So we just follow time going forward. But in the fourth, basically, you just see your whole life, a person's life from beginning to end. You can see the whole existence. But then in the fifth dimension, you can see other lives that the person would have led if he had
Hmm.
chosen different paths.
Hmm.
So I thought that was it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Because I've always thought, with Einstein, and I asked this question on another stream, and they kind of agreed with me, but I'd like to get your opinion on it. I mean,
Can I? I want to jump in first and just say, for me, if I didn't experience that stuff myself, I would just say I don't see what that matters, and
Hmm.
that sounds cool, but literally, if we can experience that, or if that then literally that has no relation to us. But
I think
again,
it
like
does.
I
I think
have I have directly experienced it, so it is a thing that can happen. And when I experienced it, I told some other people, and they were like, "Yo, you actually are talking about a thing that happens. Like that's a thing that is." And then you start. It's basically what you're talking about, but
yeah.
I didn't know that I was going into like a higher state of dimension. But I just want to say I don't know what that matters. Like even if it okay for a person who has been into higher states of dimensions and seen what you're talking about
Mhm.
directly, I don't see what that like having those conversations with people who hasn't had those experience, or even if they did, like I don't see any how that's beneficial for anybody to talk
Well,
about.
okay, here I can give an example why it might be beneficial. Albert Einstein, let's just assume that he discovered the theory of relativity. But how could a guy who lives in a three-dimensional world possibly understand the relativity of time? Is it possible that it was given to him by a being in the fourth dimension? So our science that we understand today, a lot of it might have been discovered by and given to people that took the credit for it, but it was really given by other dimensional beings. Because it's like, how could he possibly understand relativity of time throughout the universe living in a three-dimensional world? It just doesn't register.
Okay, that's for you, Max.
Yeah, Einstein actually had claimed that he dreamt of relativity. It was a dream about sheeps, I think it was.
Hmm.
If I look it up, because I remember, and a lot of people, Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, said it came to her in a dream. The guy, I think Stevenson, who wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, said a dream led him to write that. And what realm is the dream in? You know, because it's unmeasurable, so it's not a dimension, because dimensions are basically things that can be measured: length, width, height, first, second, third dimension. The fourth dimension, time, which can be measured. Fifth dimension, time that you can change. You have all the different options and so forth. But yeah, it was a thought experiment with
Hmm.
Einstein. And it definitely, you know, they tried to say, oh, again, the whole evolutionary model. Oh, he created this, and it was like, no. They cited that he dreamt of cows, electric fences, and a farmer, to understand that time and events are relative to the observer's perspective. However, there's no solid historical evidence that this specific detailed dream caused the breakthrough. I
Hmm.
think, yeah, he was given that. He didn't create it by himself. Just like with all other inventions, you know, they've gotten it from either ancient technology, re engineered it, had an idea given to them, which whoever gave them the idea may not have been in this dimension. I mean, where are dreams? Dreams come from a totally different place.
Sure. And what about
And
deja vu? We all
yeah,
experience deja vu. Maybe that's a message from the fourth dimension, which
it
knows what
could,
we're going to do 10 years from now or 5 years from now.
it could come from the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could really, and these are things they don't want people to think about. Once again,
Hmm.
it's dangerous to think, because that might be the key to our escape from this kind of mental prison that they try to keep people in. By
Exactly.
yeah, you talk to people, they can't think. It's scary in a way, because they can't even fathom the thought about some of the things that we talk about. And it's nothing against them. It's just saying, wow, this is a real life zombie movie almost. It's very Twilight Zone-ish, with, like how you said, with that channel, and they attack you just for asking questions.
Exactly. And the mind, just to reiterate, you're going to go to sleep tonight or sometime and you're going to dream. What if that dream is in another dimension? So you can't really say it doesn't affect your life.
And dreams are prophetic.
Yeah.
Dreams, they have like you wonder about that. It's like it's profound when you think about that.
Okay, wait. I just want to respond real quick. No, I agree. The fourth dimension does affect our lives, right? Because like we're a part of it. But I mean, like us talking about it. For me personally, like I was saying, if I was talking to another person who, because I can say genuinely and honestly that I have experienced the things that you're talking about for
Hmm.
myself, uh, from a first person experience, and I just feel like if I were to be talking to somebody who was like, yeah, I too experienced seeing uh all of my, what is it called, life backwards and forwards, and able to see different like dimensions and stuff. Uh I just don't really see where the conversation would go, is all I'm saying. Like I
Hmm.
yeah, but that's why I don't talk. It's interesting listening to what you have to say, but for me contributing, I don't really know what to say about the fourth dimension after being there, other than saying like, yeah, that is pretty accurate to what I saw when it comes to like your description of how things work.
How did you
Um,
see it, by the way? How did you see it?
Salvia Divinorum.
Oh, you took the salvia?
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been an experience. They say that's the number most potent. Some say it's the most potent behind after DMT.
Everyone who has their preference, uh, hallucinogen will say that that's the strongest hallucinogen, whichever is their preference. But I would, I would say it's pretty damn strong. It's considered the disassociate, so it makes you like not even aware of anything in this reality. That's one of the classifications. And when it comes to hallucinogens, not many are considered uh disassociates. So yeah, that's pretty strong. That's pretty strong up there.
Really?
How did you take it?
I mean, you just smoke it. You can do it orally, like you put it under your tongue and you let the chemical go through your what is that gland under your tongue?
Now, this plant can be grown, like it's just grown and dried, or is there a chemical on it?
Yeah, it's a naturally uh grown plant. Actually the Mayans and the Aztecs were using it way back when. And it's funny because when they did the research and the scientists were asking them, "Hey, where did you find this plant from? Because we're doing DNA like tracking on it, and it's not related to." Well, they didn't tell them that. They were just asking like, "Where did this plant come from? What do y'all know about it?" Because when this scientists were doing the research, it wasn't genetically similar to any other plants in the region. So they were like, "This is a foreign plant, and uh, we need to know more about it because it's the only hallucinogen in the mint family. It's considered a mint, and it's the only mint that is hallucinogenic, and it's the only hallucinogen that affects your what are those things in your brain called that normally it affects. It's the ones that opium, your opiate receptors.
Oh, all
It
right.
it affects your opiate receptors in order to cause you to hallucinate, but it's non-addictive.
Did
So
you did it let you compress time? Like, what did you feel about time?
what do I feel about time?
No, no, when
Well,
you did the salvia, like what was the difference between how you feel about time right now, how it feels, how it's passing? What was the difference when you did the salvia? Like, what was the effect that it had
I would
on?
say the best way I could explain it is right now, like the way we're processing, the way me and you are perceiving to process information is with the brain, right? But in reality, we're perceiving information with all of our body. But
Mm,
we're just not completely aware of the full extent of the connection and the perception that we are actually experiencing in the moment because we're
Mhm.
focusing on one type of experience. But in
Did it
reality, you can connect to it all, and we are everything, so we can experience everything at once. But it's kind of hard to do.
did it compress time?
There is no like the way we're perceiving everything. You don't think any way that you think now. Like there is no perception of time. There is no perception of self. There is no perception of now. It's all. It's very hard to explain. It's very hard to put in words. But when you start talking about like you could see backward and forward into time, that's a thing that you can do. Like literally everything that ever happened, it's like a cosmic picture in the sky, and it's able to be seen like a photograph. And your actions, everybody's actions, affect everything, and it's able to be seen if you're able to see it the right way. So, uh,
Wow. You were able to see time as like a picture, like laid out, like the whole timeline.
yeah, and it's cool because this one timeline is made up of other timelines that are like stacked. There's different timelines stacked different ways. So there's a whole bunch of dimensions stacked on top of each other vertically,
Hmm.
and then horizontally there's different dimensions within the vertical and the horizontal like planes that are infinitely stacked on top of each other, making up a whole nother plane of existence. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
That's like the
Wow.
fifth dimension that you went into. Basically, you went past the fourth, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I was able to see into different dimensions. I saw some aliens. They were looking. The end of my trip, literally, I was looking at everything because I saw three different versions of myself, and I realized like, okay, uh, this is like I am connected to energy. Like my consciousness was a part of energy, and I started looking around at everything because literally there was this spiral that was making up all of existence, and in that spiral, I was able to see myself in this dimension getting high on salvia, and
Wow.
I was looking at, and I was also like the universe because there was a giant cosmic being in the sky that was making up the universe, and it basically looked like the. You know how Leonardo da Vinci drew that guy who's like naked and he has his hands and feet spread out?
Yes.
It was basically that, but it was the outline the it was the outline of a person, and inside was the universe. So uh, that was me. I was the universe, and I saw some aliens. Basically, like there were some aliens that were basically just like kind of looking at me, and I looked into their spaceship, and they were like, "He could see us. Press the button." And after that, I literally just stopped hallucinating. Like I went out of my trip after that.
Really? Wow.
how long did it last?
Normally, it lasts about 2 to 5 minutes.
And time felt like how much time felt like it passed in that 2 to 5 minutes?
There was no perception of time. I didn't even know who I was after the thing ended. I didn't know where I was at. I didn't know who I was. I was trying to remember what my name was. I was trying to remember what the heck was going on because I didn't know what was happening.
How long did it take to remember who you were and where you were?
I would say about 4 or 5 seconds. No, like a couple of like yeah, 4 or 5, 10 seconds maybe at the most.
Wow. Wow. And
Mm,
you remembered the whole trip and everything. That's amazing, man. That's
that is.
man, I this girl that worked at the smoke shop told me about this like 20 years ago. I remember. She was like really cool person, and she was like, yeah, you got to try this. And I was like, nah, I'm all right. And they were giving it away. It was in like these packets. I guess a company had had put like 2 leaves in a little silver like packet to preserve it, and they were sample packs. And I just, yeah, at that time, I was just going there to buy papers to roll up joints and stuff when I used to smoke. And
I think it used to be legal at one
yeah,
point.
it was legal, exactly. And that's why she was like, so, we hung out before. She had like a whole collection of bongs at her house. She was a real hippie. Like I was like, I mean, this girl had like 30 freaking bongs or more. She
Wow.
worked at the head shop, but and really cool, but yeah, a little too headsy. And yeah, I remember her telling me that. I just and other people have told me about it. Like today, even some friends were telling me we went out to grab something to eat, and they were like, one of the guys is like a shaman. His grandfather is Puerto Rican and was really into like like the shamanic type of way. So he keeps that, and he's an older guy. So he was like, they were smoking DMT. I remember like a couple years ago, and another friend that was with us, he goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "I'll pay for it. Let's get the DMT and try it." And I don't really want to smoke that stuff. I said, "I can't smoke anymore." I said, the ayahuasca tea. I said, "I heard when you drink it," my sister had tried it years ago. She said, you feel like something is poking out of you. And I said, "Well, I heard people like vomit when they take that." And she goes, "Oh yeah, you got to vomit." And I was like, "Holy smokes, you act like it's not a big thing." I said, "I don't feel like vomiting." And
Yeah, right.
yeah, so and they say after you vomit, you feel the trip. Graham Hancock said that there was an instance of a guy in the forest when they tripped in South America, that he vomited and he saw the shadow of a snake leave the throw up. And he goes, you get that, then you get you got to go to the bathroom, and all of that.
Okay,
It's yeah.
I want to jump in here real quick and say I do think I have heard, and I think it might be true. It does depend on who's brewing it, because that's one thing. Like there's a certain way to brew it, and also the other thing too is this reminds me a lot of mushrooms. Like when you do mushrooms, a lot of people I hear a lot of similar things. Why
Mushrooms
people?
were much more forgiving for me. Like I told them, I said, "Look, if you get the mushrooms, I might want to try it, but you got to get
Yeah,
the right ones, because a lot of people have like this BS one that they are hybridizing and stuff." And I
yeah,
guess
but
yeah,
I'm just saying, like I've heard a lot of people say, like I don't like to do mushrooms because I it makes me feel nauseous, or like I need to
yeah,
use the
no, I
restroom.
feel nauseous at all. When I every trip I did, I must have tripped on mushrooms. It's been a while, but uh, I must have had about a good maybe 15, between 15 and 20, maybe 15 trips, but different times. And they were amazing. They were maybe
Yeah,
two
same here.
times. They didn't really hit me that hard, like two times. Those are the ones that this guy got where I was like, "Yeah, man, it wasn't really that great." And I smoked a lot of weed when I took them. So I didn't know weed in some instances can diminish it if you smoke it before.
I didn't
I
know that.
think,
I did
yeah,
not
like
know that.
I remember taking some mushrooms that were really good, and I lit a joint, and I felt like the whole like world like almost turned like a paper. I felt like paper, like it was really amazing. It was straight Alice in Wonderland type trip. And so I've had some amazing trips with the mushroom. But like today when I was talking with them, I said, I don't even feel like doing that, because the guy that does the shaman stuff, I mean, they get deep. They'll be beating the drums and they'll do like the native stuff. He has like this wigwam type of thing. And I was like, guys, I really don't want to sit in a sweat lodge. I guess I was kind of like, look, maybe one day if I feel like it. I said, but I just don't really feel it, because they were all ready to I guess experience that. And I was just like, nah. I said, maybe if you get the good mushrooms. But I said, even then, I think I've had enough trips.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I can reflect back and think about some of the trips I've had. Even weed, smoking weed, I've felt it alter time.
Oh,
I've
I did.
felt
I
like,
felt that too when I smoked. That's
yeah,
only the heaviest thing I've done is weed. Of course, I drank
yeah,
alcohol, but time
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, that,
Well, I have to say I personally feel like the purpose of mind altering substances, like let's say DM. No, I wouldn't say DMT because I never can say I never had like any profound or uh, anything beneficial from what I know of DMT. I did it one time. Uh, I like mushrooms at least, or I would say like peyote. I personally feel like those things are supposed to be done so it kind of puts you in the right state of mind. Kind of like I think you're supposed to maybe be able to think a certain way, and I think that's supposed to help you like reorganize your brain. It's supposed to be like a vitamin, but I don't think it's a thing you need all the time. Like literally, I feel like when I did mushrooms, I got these profound messages and like this conversation, and I don't want to say a download, but I would say a conversation definitely. And
I've wanted to try the peyote. but I just couldn't find a pure source. Like in the 90s, I remember I was with this chick and we were in the Bronx and we stopped at like this corner and these guys were crossing over and they were selling mescaline. And we bought 2 hits. That was the only time I took it. I think mescaline is a form of peyote.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was tripping my balls off for like 4 hours. I felt like reality seemed like it was dripping and it was buzzing. I was hearing like the
Well, I don't know if
buzzing.
I don't know if it was mescaline. If it was only how much of it did they give you?
It was like a little, like a small pill, like a very small micro tab,
Okay, okay.
like yeah, it wasn't a big pill, and she had one too. And then 4 hours, I mean, I was buzzing, and then I had to lay down on the couch. She went home, and I just got this intense headache, and I laid on the couch for like the other 4 hours. It was so bad, I was thinking of going to the hospital, and then I was like, man, if I go there, they ain't gonna be able to do nothing. So I kind of
And
slept it off, and then I never did it again because I think it
and
was
you did a microdose, believe it or not, because normally that lasts 12 hours.
yeah. So it just, I mean, it could have lasted a little longer, but I never did it again because of the headache thing after. But the buzz for the first 4 hours, about 4 or 5 hours, that shit was intense. And like
Mm.
cactus, if I could get the cactus thing, if I knew how to do it, like I talked to these guys, they were part of the Circle of Red Nations out on Long Island, and Raven was one of the guys. They had like he used to breed the peyote mushrooms, and he used to be on a radio show back in like 2003, and he, people would talk about stories about eating the little buttons, I guess, off the peyote, and I wanted to try it. I definitely did. I mean, but like the mushrooms and stuff, I can understand they say you're taking a trip because you're traveling without moving. And to me, it's like going somewhere, traveling to another state, and you say, okay, I already been there. I don't need to travel there again. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah,
there,
that's what I was trying to get at. I was trying to say, like, I think it's a good thing to experience and do, and even like make it a part of a cultural thing. Because I do think that is a healthy thing to be like, look, we need to do some mushrooms, like
yeah, yes, no,
culturally,
it is,
like,
and
but
and I understand where, because one guy, we call him like the grandfather of it, and he was the guy that was, we were with today, and he I can understand if them saying, look, you have to do this, like you need that journey, even though you don't want it, you need to see something, you need if it was somebody that would know, like the lady that was considered the godmother of mushrooms, her name was Maria Sabina. I think she was from Mexico. And she was just, if you look her up, she's an amazing, like she was the mother of no, she would look at you, and they said she would see your aura and be like, all right, you need a little bit of these mushrooms, a little bit of these. And it was just I think they call it in Mexico elephantos or something like that.
but she
Uh,
was also considered a traitor to some. It was like a half and half, love and hate. Because
oh,
some
really?
people were like, "Yo, that was a sacred thing. You weren't supposed to tell people. Now it's illegal all in America. Like now, people are being
Yeah,
jailed for that,
yeah,
for
no,
having that."
yeah, I could see it.
And
Well,
then and then other people were like, "Well, they need to. People need to know about it. White people are allowed to do it now, so it's good." It's just like, well, we're not. We're not allowed to do it now.
exactly. Yeah, I could see them looking at her traitorous because you can't let some people know. They actually filmed her in a it's like the Twilight Zone thing. It was called One Step Beyond. It's still on YouTube. And they went to Mexico and they filmed it, and they recorded their instances, and that could have also brought public attention that the CIA and them go and they make it illegal. And you're right, it should have been kept more, I think, of a sacred ritual, because some people, you got to be careful on who you tell, because some of these people are not genuine people. They're it's like you said, you can't, because it would be considered traitorous. It's like, having the wrong person at a party, and and then they tell people, and now the monsters come to try to, get you in trouble for exploring your own consciousness. And that,
And it's the poisoning of the water thing I was talking about. You can't have anything good because they want to poison the water.
Exactly. And they're monsters, man. I look at them. I've experienced it a lot of my younger life of smoking weed and stuff. Make you feel like a criminal just because you wanted to experience that. And they want you to drink because when I was in the military, they pushed that. They're like, oh yeah, you can't smoke, but you could drink. We smoked anyway. We didn't give a shit. And that was the rebellious part of me. And the LSD tabs were around. So I remember doing that like I would say
Yeah,
over
that too was CIA pushed, wasn't it?
in some way it's synthesized from because naturally it forms on the rye bread when it starts to mold, and people in Europe would be tripping off of that. And that's where they said sometimes they think it was the witches thing of thinking that they were flying, and they would put it on the tip of the broom, and they would put the broom between their legs, and they would absorb it like a suppository through the vagina, through the lips and the parts of the inner vulva. So it gave rise to, I think, the myth of the witch flying on the broom. So when they synthesized that, I think it was Albert Hoffman and them in the 50s, and they tried to use it to control people, but they realized it couldn't control them. It would actually free their mind. And that's when two professors from Harvard, I think, Timothy Leary and Rupert Albert, they took it and they saw like they had a realization to where they said, look, they were telling students to drop out of school and tune into life. And I think Rupert Albert went to India and changed his name to Ram Dass and became like a crazy guru. Timothy Leary became the rogue philosopher. He started saying never respect authority in any way, shape, or form. It's fake. It's a lie. And I met Ram Dass when he came back here in '05 because one of my friends who's a medical doctor, he's older. He goes, look, man, he goes, when he was 19, he experienced the real Ram Dass. So when we met him back in '05, he goes, oh, he's old now. He's not the same. He was all fucked up, pardon my language. And he Tom was telling me, the doctor, he goes, yeah, man, he goes, he was 19, he dropped out of college, sold all his possessions, bought a one-way ticket to India. And he goes, man, he goes, I remember being in Iran back in it must have been the 60s. And he goes, they had like penalties written on the wall, one puff, 10 years, two puffs, 20 years of hash or whatever. And then he said that he never thought he was going to be a doctor. He goes, he came back and, eventually finished, did medical school. And yeah, I mean, and he told me, he goes, yeah, if you ever get a hold of LSD, to open your mind. And I had already, was out of the service for 10 years after when I met him. And I go, I didn't know. I said, wait a minute. I said, you mean like those little paper hits of acid? And he goes, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, I did that, man. I must have did that over 20 times. I said, you're right. It definitely opens your mind. And yeah, he was.
You know what? I just thought of something. You okay? So land of the free, right? But you can't watch TV in public, and you can't grow plants in private. Like, how free is that?
Mhm. Yeah, it's crazy. It's not free at all. It's land of the fake. Land of the fake, home of the slave, I used to call it. It's not land of the free. Yeah, and Mehdi's right. A diploma on a wall is not a certificate of higher intelligence. Exactly. Yeah. Microdosing, I've heard. I'm not really, for me personally, I would just want to do the whole dose. I'm that type of guy. I'm just like I was never the take two hits off the joint. I'm like, I'm smoking that whole joint by myself. Like we used to smoke joints with each other, but as we got older, we were like, look, man, you roll your stuff, I'll roll mine. And I was more of that type of guy. Like, and I understand people do their microdoses and stuff like that. Like LSD was used. Yeah, they used it in CIA operations. They had hookers dose their clients with LSD, and they would study their reactions. So they would definitely use LSD, but it was hard to control the mind. Instead of controlling it, LSD more freed the mind. Like when we took it, I mean, you're looking at the weekend comes. If we didn't have to work Friday night, we were smoking a blunt, taking LSD, tripping, and might have tripped, like I would say, once on a weekend, but you're looking at over the course of a few years, I might have took it maybe a little more than 20 times. Maybe that's why I was always rebellious. So that, just the fact of taking it, other people would avoid us and stuff because we didn't care. We didn't care.
Acid flashbacks, is that a real thing?
Uh, Not really. Like I wouldn't say a flashback like a scary flashback, but there's been times, and I don't know if it comes from the mushrooms that I did, but there's been times where I would lay down and I would have these beautiful visions, like these kaleidoscope colors, and it would just be beautiful, man. Like I'd be looking deep into my mind, saying, and I could only see them if I close my eyes and it's dark. If you close your eyes and it's light, you can't see. You got to cover your eyes so no light. And I would see these amazing patterns. So that, I would say, is the extent of the flashback, if somebody even wants to call that a flashback. But it was beautiful to me. I remember taking mushrooms and being so blasted that I would just fold my hands together and lay like my head on the kitchen countertop and just be almost singing, being like, holy smoke, seeing like these like snakes intertwining with each other with like these amazing colors on the snake patterns, and just being like, wow, this is like amazing. So I've had some very, very amazing trips with mushrooms. So and it was the certain ones. Like I remember taking mushrooms one time, it didn't really do nothing. And then other times I took it and I was just like, man, this is plants of the gods. Like this is teacher plants. Like I used to have a book called Plants of the Gods where they talked about different spiritual plants you can take. Yeah, I was really like, I have to admit, it was a beautiful thing. Brother Ali, man, thank you for the support, bro. He says, so don't boast about following a particular human leader, for everything belongs to you. 1 Corinthians 3:21. You got it, brother. You know what's up, man. Thank you, brother, for the
If I
support.
can ask the mind a quick question,
Yeah, yeah, please, definitely,
the
definitely.
mind, those alien beings that you see, do you think that was just a hallucination, part of your trip, or were they real beings? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I think they were potentially real, some kind of entity, some entities. Because yeah, it was kind of weird, and I've had other prior experiences before that where there was like this communication happening, and I would the best way I could describe it as is an intrusive thought. I had these intrusive thoughts coming into my head where it was like, hey, you know, I think you should help us do some stuff. And it was just like, what the hell is going on right now? And then they were like, what do you want? We can give you whatever you want. You just got to help us do stuff. What, you want some candy? You want some ice cream? And then my mom turned around, and because we were in the car, and my mom was like, you want some ice cream? And I was just like, what is going on right now? And I just started like praying, and that was kind of it. But I at the time I was under the impression, because I had a uncle that talked about aliens a lot, that it was probably some kind of aliens that were trying to like uh communicate with me telepathically or something. That was the conclusion I drew as a kid, again because I had a cousin that was into aliens. But that's the closest thing I can think of when you're trying to think like, okay, are there any alien entities that I have come across in my life? But that's probably the closest thing I could come to, and it's not even a for sure thing. It was just a conclusion I drew. That could probably be aliens that was communicating with me. I think if there even is such thing as aliens, they are not good, and they would be related to some kind of nefarious force that's trying to control things with technology.
Yeah, I agree. And that's how it affects our lives, you know? I mean, you experienced that trip, but who knows, people in power may be doing this on a regular basis, communicating with these entities that you saw.
Yeah, they were scared. They were scared that I even looked at them because I was the universe.
Hmm.
Wow, that's kind of deep, man. Yeah, that, I mean, I felt that with seeing like a holographic goddess feline thing. I want to make a video about it, and like especially with AI, I could draw the picture and then maybe have it enhance it and then animate it. And you know,
I'm also an artist. Like, if you need anything done, just ask me, and I'm a conceptual artist. Like, I could come up with concept art and help you with the creation process if you need any help with that.
oh, cool. Here, I'll put my email. Here's my email in the private chat.
Yeah, I do traditional art. I could do 3D art. And if you definitely AI, some AI generation is not hard at all, and yeah, some regular animations. I could do that.
Yeah, definitely. I just put my email in the private chat if you want to save it and just write me on it. I don't know if we're connected on that email, because it's the email I've had for the last few years since we changed the other channel. But yeah, definitely write to me on the email to let me know it's you, and then I'll connect with you and send you some of the stuff that would need to be enhanced, because I'm thinking I could, you know, enhance it. And I think about some of the experiences I had, like when I lit that joint, and I just like felt like the whole world, the whole room became like made out of paper. Like it was an amazing experience. I felt like it fueled the mushroom trip to where it was like rocket boosters, and just it was beautiful. I have to admit, the room felt longer, like the Alice in Wonderland table that got longer. And I've tripped by myself, I've tripped with friends. And when we tripped, we would take, I might still have the mini disc because I had a mini disc recorder, and we would record it for like 5 hours because it had a 5 hour recording span back in the early 2000s. First one I had only had 2 hours, and then I had got another model. And we would just be quiet, sitting there thinking. I'd have like a bowl of fruit, vitamin C, in case anybody wanted to, like, because they say when you eat that, it can bring you back quicker, just in case somebody started to freak out or something. And yeah, yeah, it was amazing, amazing stuff, man. I really, really appreciate the trips that I was able to have. Um,
But it tells us something about our reality too. I mean, I'm not endorsing taking trips because I think for some people it can be very negative. But
mhm.
and there has been cases of that happening.
Well,
But it
that
tells us
I
there's
think
something more to
I
the
think
physical.
sorry.
All right, go ahead, the mind. But go
I
ahead.
think that's the one reason why it's a good thing when it comes to society wise. If you're going to be wanting to be in a position of power, you need to be mentally stable. And one way to like kind of sift out the people who with mental instability is by introducing them to potentially things like this, like where it's like, okay,
Yeah, he has a
that,
history of that though.
yeah,
Of that.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That
Sorry.
makes sense because it tests their integrity with the teacher plan.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because we can only test each other so much. The plant is the truth. The plant will reveal whether they're worthy or not. They say there's a plant called false peyote, and the natives would say that it makes crazy people, evil people, jump off of cliffs and end themselves. So
oh wow. I
yeah,
never heard that.
oh yeah, it's really deep. It scared me when I heard about that. I was like, holy smokes, how do and it looks like peyote. So it's sort of like there's mushrooms that'll end you, called the death cap mushrooms. And then there's mushrooms that look just like it that are edible. So nature has a way with, I guess if this person has bad karma and stuff like that, I'm not really sure, but that kind of also kept me from the peyote because you'd have to have somebody that really knew. And
Yeah.
then they say the San Pedro cactus also has hallucinogenic properties.
True. Yeah, I've
And,
heard that.
and I think also some people who have trauma based issues from their past as a child or so forth, they can have a bad trip. Maybe not just have anxiety and or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
They could
Yeah,
have a
definitely.
bad trip, and then sometimes they could have a trip that could free them from the anxiety. So
Hmm.
this is where we need these elders that would let us know, like, okay, I can, they study the aura because they have photography that can take a picture of your
Hmm.
aura, and it has the different colors according to whatever you might need to I guess heal you spiritually in some way. So there's so much more that these teacher plants can do. James Arthur wrote a book about it called Mushrooms and Mankind, And he
Mm-hmm.
said that these plants are very important to our existence, to our understanding other, I wouldn't even say dimensions. It goes beyond something that's immeasurable, because dimensions are basically things that can be measured. And then as you go deeper, you start to say, okay, you're going to get into realms that are immeasurable, like dreams. You can't measure a dream. It's a whole different realm. It's and there's different types of dreams. You go to different areas. And then with the teacher plants, now you're opening up a whole new door, which is why that group called themselves. They were originally called the Doors of Perception, and then they shortened the name to the Doors. And their hit song was "Break On Through to the Other Side." And the other side sometimes is considered as what would be called death, like that song by Paul Van Dyke, "See You on the Other Side." I think that he made for his father that was passing. And then of course the Doors, "Break On Through to the Other Side," "Come On Baby Light My Fire," "Riders of the Storm." Very, very deep. "People Are Strange." That was another one.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, though, MD, about having somebody, an expert who can read the aura, who knows what plants to give you. It's the people that freelance this stuff and just try whatever. Those are the people that get into trouble, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, they can have you have a bad trip. Also, it's very important that the person that gives it to you, that one lady, she lives on like a native reservation upstate New York. And I met her about 15 years ago. We became friends, and she was telling me, she goes, she doesn't smoke weed. She goes, you got to grow your own weed. She goes, weed has an energy. If the wrong person gives it to you, it'll pull the energy that they have. And, now that you buy this off of them or you get it from them, it's going to carry that. So I was like, wow. And she's right, because I knew that some people, when I got weed from them, it was really good. It just carried a better energy. And in other people, it might not be as a good of an energy. So these plants carry energies just by touching them.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about sage like that. Like a lot of people, a lot of these hippie chicks will burn sage, be like, oh, I got to smudge the room and all of that stuff. They'll burn the sage. And one lady was telling me, you have to grow your own sage. You either find it in the wild, which is still again a kind of a chance, but if you grow it, they go, you should not buy sage from a store or from somebody else. And this also keeps us more connected with 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 nature and reality, to say, yeah, I owe it to myself to respect myself enough that if I go on this path, I need to take the responsibility to grow these things, to be able to cultivate it. When I grew cannabis, it was beautiful. It was a whole different energy when I smoked that cannabis compared to anything that I would have bought. And so I've experienced this, I've
I
experienced,
I
yeah.
just want to say, I one time was out in the wilderness, and I was peeing in a bush, and I actually started smelling around and realized that I was peeing in a sage bush, and I got some sage, and yeah, that stuff is potent.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it really. I remember my mother telling me a story from when before I was born. She said her and my father had just got married, and it was weird. She said it was nighttime. Because they had a latrine that it was outside and stuff, very poor. Um, and she said he didn't want to like go to the latrine, so he just pissed right outside. And she goes, she thinks that he pissed on like a spirit. It was late at night, she goes, because he came back in, and the whole, like, the house started to shake, like if something was.
Holy
Yeah, and I was just like, holy smokes, because I've heard some really deep stories from, because I got family from many different walks of life, different cultures, and I've heard like a lot of stuff. Like I was just like, wow. And she said, yeah, she goes, you have to be very careful of certain things like that, um these things exist, that if you trust in goodness and you always, the karma of the good, Um, it's life is definitely, you got to watch where you walk, where you step. I think it was this Native American, it might have been Olin, I forgot his last name, he passed. He was famous too. He said that when you remove the snake and the bear and these things in life that you would have to be aware about, you become less aware. So when they try to say, "Oh, we're going to clean up nature, there's too many dangerous things out there," it's like, no, you need that there to keep you aware. Because if you don't have that, you become dull. You
Yeah, and
become,
fear is the first part of wisdom, I think, or respect, something like that.
yeah, yeah. It's very, very deep when you look at what we're in, the nature, the existence. It's beautiful, and then there's a danger in that beauty, just like anything, just like women that are pretty, they're dangerous as well. There's danger in everything, and there's beauty in everything too. So it's a balance. Some things are more dangerous than they are beautiful. Some things are more beautiful than they are dangerous. And these are the things that go beyond the education system. This is where the real learning takes place, where elders can, and people more experienced can impart their knowledge and wisdom. Well, really their knowledge, because wisdom you have to just gain. You have to know when to use the knowledge. That's basically wisdom, how to apply that knowledge in your life, like ethics had brought up. Very well spoken, said that it's and then self-respect. That's a big part of it. These plants, like DMT, the spirit molecule, written by Rick Strassman, the doctor. I think his pioneering, it was in the 90s, right? And he was at the University of New Mexico, and he was funded by the government to study. And DMT, of course, is dimethyltryptamine, right?
Hmm.
Um, so when he wrote the book, I had read some of it in the bookstore. It explores the connection between the naturally occurring compound, because we have it in us, mystical experiences, and the pineal gland. So the biology of birth and death. And I remember coming to the conclusion that when kids are born, we're born like we're born out of, like, there's a DMT effect. So when you look at little kids when they're growing up, it's like they're almost tripping, like they're high for like the first couple of years of life, and they're having all these emotional outbreaks. And it's just amazing when I was thinking, like, wow, that's a very strong possibility that we're born out of the get high. We're born out of that. Brother Ali says, even the Bible says you need to be foolish in order to be wise. Exactly, brother, exactly. It's like there's a relationship there that's that you can't separate them. The fool and the wise man, it clearly has a big relationship. Yes, from foolishness, wisdom can be born. It's so true. There is a lot of wisdom in a lot of religious scriptures. I have to admit, they're definitely. When I think about the freedom of doing these things, like with Rick Strassman, when he wrote this book, DMT, the Spirit Molecule. Uh, you
I want to
know,
comment on DMT for a second.
yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
No, I just watched a video recently, and they said that on DMT, you can get banned on DMT, meaning that if you take these trips, but there's something they don't like about you, that you can take it again and nothing will happen. Somebody
Yeah.
said that, I think it was on Joe Rogan, that you can get banned from
Yeah,
DMT.
the entities will say, no, we're not gonna we're not gonna talk to you anymore. Like
Yeah.
Graham
Okay,
Hancock.
I
Yeah.
want to mention that too. I was gonna say, I did DMT, and okay, I did enough to break through, and I was waiting to see some entities. I was expecting to see somebody or like to get a greeting or something when I showed up. Nobody was there, and I was just like, what is going on? But I was aware that somebody was observing me, but from afar, and I was being shown like these things. And I was just like, okay, that's cool, but I mean, it's nothing like salvia. That's what I was thinking while I
Yeah.
was tripping, because
Mhm.
literally I was still myself and I was still able to be aware of things. But when I was on salvia, literally, it was a whole nother thing. Like it was a whole nother. perception of reality. But when you're in DMT, it's like you still have this same kind of processing power, this perception that you have, like you know who you are and stuff still, but you're seeing a whole bunch of weird stuff. And that's what I was thinking. Like, okay, is this it? Is this all you're showing me? Like, am I going to see anything cooler? Because I feel like you're just putting shiny toys in front of my face, and that was it. I was just, I ended up getting out of the trip, and I was just like, I need more. I need to do this more because I don't think I did it right or something.
Or maybe, yeah, maybe the setting, maybe the time, maybe there's certain times it like it could be something like that. You know, it could be like Mr. X said, maybe they banned you for that time. Maybe you needed to wear off something else. Maybe the state of mind. There's so
Yeah.
much, yeah, things of looking at it. Like they say that it deals with the pineal gland, you know, so like they call it the seat of the soul. The
Wait, but what if that's a lie though? Because look, I agree with you that I think a lot of the stuff we are being controlled, and we could be even be like uh not programs, but clones or like genetically
Mhm.
engineered, like
Yeah, yeah.
uh experiments that have been in the process for generations now. What if this whole like the reason why we are experiencing these certain chemical things during certain uh things in our life is because of what you're talking about. Like, look, this is actually set up. Like, this is not normal. This is engineered for us to have these chemicals and for them to come out. And in the actual chemicals we need, ban. Don't touch those. Those are illegal. You're not supposed to mess with those. Uh,
Mhm.
those are going to make you go crazy.
Yeah,
And that I think that could be happening. Like literally, the things that we actually are supposed to be using, they got rid of it. They took it out of our system, and they're trying to get it out of nature altogether.
mhm,
And then when we come in contact with it, they're like, "That's illegal. Don't be ingesting that.
yeah.
You have DMT in your body. That's what you need." Like
What if we're
Joe
already,
Rogan told you, DMT is good. You should believe DMT is good.
but
Mhm.
what if we're already crazy? We just don't know it.
Well, yeah, I think we are. I think okay, craziness is just not being aware of what reality is. No one in reality, when we're born, knows has 100% understanding of reality. So we have some. We're not. We all have some level of so disattachment from reality. I think it.
Like if we don't have a spiritual entity that we're following, we're technically nuts, or we're just like the Walking Dead in this earth.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm saying? Like the higher ups, the people in control, the famous people, the movie stars, they all have their spiritual entities that give them information. They communicate with each other on a regular basis. And the fact that we do it, we're like the Walking Dead, basically.
or I mean, you never know if those entities could be lying, you know?
Oh, I think they are. I think they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, you never
100%.
know. It's like sometimes there's a truth that you just know. Like the Western world calls it intuition. The
Mhm.
Eastern, the native world calls it sacred knowledge that's within us. So they will say, "Oh, that's your intuition." It's like, well, how about it's my sacred knowledge? So it has a different feel when you see how the modern world tries to, it's based on violence, it's based on hatred, it's based on fear and control, as opposed to love and embracing and
Mhm.
knowledge and understanding and wisdom. We see the difference between the old world and the modern world on how whatever it is that has taken it over, maybe we're being tested, but like the mind said, it's true.
Mhm.
They try to act like, oh, you know, you're not supposed to take that because it really could be a key that frees us
Yeah.
somehow to let us see something. And sometimes it has to be like, I could see where it's like, okay, you don't want to take it, but sometimes you need to go through that ritual. And this is why they would have these rituals, like Native Americans would have rituals of blood and flesh. Like if you ever saw that movie, A Man Called Horse, and there's a ritual where they would put these hooks in the flesh and hang.
Jeez.
Said it was sort of like a blood and flesh ritual, so we could experience what women are doing when they shed their flesh and their blood to give birth. So
Yeah,
it's
it's a ritual that they still do to this day.
yeah, yeah, it's really deep. I mean, these people were some of the most spiritual people on earth. And they try to tell us that they're savage and all of that, but the people that are telling us that they're savage, those are the savages.
I
The
agree.
Western world. Yeah, and we see that, the modern world. We see the savages. Um, you look at the chakras from the Hindu traditions, like, and I know Azraroon would probably be an expert in this, where they say that the DMT could actually be some type of source or connection to the seventh chakra from the Hindu traditions, the birth and death experience. Because sometimes I've noticed when I did mushrooms, I remember one guy was saying, he goes, "Man, you do that and you come back fresh. It's like you just got out of jail or something like that." And it's like, yeah, man, it's like you're free, in other words, of him trying to say. And the what they would call a near-death experience or something. And they say that the chemical lingers in the consciousness. They're thinking the transition, alien, non-human encounters they talk about in the book, I remember. Yeah, yeah.
I would say, okay, like this is how I feel the best way to explain it. I feel like doing hallucinogens, for me, like specifically like mushrooms, because not all hallucinogens are the same. I didn't feel the same when I
Mhm.
did
Yeah.
DMT. When I did mushrooms, I felt like, and even I would say peyote, like I got tuned back into the right like frequency for reality, because I feel like we get out of tune of nature, or this reality that we're in. And I think there are things in our lives that we need to focus on, we need to do. And that mushrooms for me is like, look, this is what's going on here. This is the world you're living in. This is like what you got to do.
Mm.
And I've done mushrooms before more times, and it was just like, yo, what's going on here? Like, why are you back here? I told you to. You're in the same position. You're not doing anything different. There's no point in you being here. Like, you need to go fucking. Oh, I said that word. You need to go fix the things you got to do. Like I
Yeah.
already told you. That's kind of how I feel when I do mushrooms or hallucinogens.
Yeah.
Like it tunes me back into reality, into like my world and what matters to not just me but to other people, because you can get closed off and kind of delusional in your own little perspective on how the world works. But when you expand your mind, you are able to think from different perspectives and be like, okay, I have been thinking whatever. I don't know how to explain it, but it does
Kind of tells you, yeah,
rewire
like
your
you got
brain.
you got to get your life in order. Why are you doing this? That's how I felt today when they were like, "Oh, we got to do the DMT one day," and I said, "Nah, I kind of feel like I got to get my life more in order. I don't need it. I'm okay, because if I do it, I know there's so much more I got to do to have my life better, to get everything financially correct, and then I could see experimenting with that, like Brother Ali says his late mother called it spiritual discernment. Yes, it's a type of knowledge. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Paul Van Dyke. That one song. That's really the only song that I've listened to is "See You on the Other Side." I remember hearing that song. A friend had it on his profile back in MySpace. This was like 2004 when MySpace was a website, and it was actually pretty cool. It was actually a very cool social media, the first one of the first, basically, sharing websites, and people could put like music on their profile, and it had a version of "See You on the Other Side" that I have not been able to find even today. But on YouTube it has a couple of good versions of it, and the whole idea of it, "See you on the other side. When I close my eyes, I'm in paradise," I think was some of the lyrics. You, I mean, some of the stuff that people sing about, it's like it comes from deep within what somebody might call their soul, or maybe it's channeled. Uh, Music and songs also. I mean, who knows? I mean, these could be used in good ways and other ways that aren't good. uh, the sounds, the frequencies, the tones of the song, the words, all have an effect on us. They really like that song. It's a classical song. Charlotte Church had sang it with this other lady called, I think it's called the Flower Duet, and it has like a, it's almost like a haunting, but not really haunting, but like a angelic sound to it, where they're like singing. It has like a slight, not really opera, but it has like that, you know, the voices just sound beautiful in that song, the Flower Duet. And then there's other songs like that too that just you think about it and it's like, wow, this is music that affects me in a whole different level. Some of the Mozart, like the I think it's the Concerto 21 or something. Uh, Amazing, amazing. I remember listening to a lot of classical music when I was tripping on mushrooms, and it had a profound effect. It had a beautiful, yeah, it was
Yeah,
beautiful.
I just want to say I don't know how many times I've cried just listening to music, like whether it be instrumental or just like
Hmm.
some good
Yeah.
lyrics.
Oh yeah, instrumental. You know, the Flower Duet has, because the female voices in that, especially Charlotte Church when she sang it, it was just like, wow, this is like, this is some amazing stuff. The beginning part especially. And in Mozart, only the instrumental ones, and only certain ones that I like oh man, I can't remember like, yeah, Sonata 21, I think it is, and maybe 19 and stuff like that. I'm not really sure of the names, but it would have like the piano, you know, would just be amazing. I think Pachelbel's Canon was another one that just, you think about it and it's like, wow, this is some deep music that has like a resonance that goes deeper than the ordinary song or the ordinary production. Yeah.
You know, I wanted to mention because we were talking about like the negative effects of doing hallucinogens, and some people shouldn't do it.
Mhm.
I wanted to mention I've done salvia a lot throughout my life, as much as possible. I would say, I mean, not as possible, as much more than the majority of people. And every time I did it, I would, you know, offer it to people around me, or people would be interested in trying it. So, in one occasion, my friend's mom ended up trying it, and I don't know if this was related to that or not, but she did end up taking a walk and then never coming back home one day. So that did happen.
What? So she's, nobody found her till this day?
Yeah, she never got found.
Really?
Holy smokes, man. That's scary.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened with
Maybe
her.
she got kidnapped or something, or
Well, that's what that was the worst case scenario, but the most hopeful thing that they were hoping was that she took off and was just like decided to live another life somewhere. But yeah, that is the worst case scenario, that she got kidnapped.
and what state?
It was in Texas.
Holy
She
smoke.
she was like a dentist. The She owned a whole dentist business.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
But that's good that you shared the, the dangers, because I don't like it when they glorify it. Not, I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about some of these other
Yeah,
videos.
people, yeah.
It's like, oh, you got to try it, got to do it, got to do it. But it's like, you don't know what could happen. Everybody's going to have a different experience, I think.
And that's what I was thinking. Was that what happened? Like she did this and then like something snapped in her brain and she
Yeah.
just completely
Like for me
flipped
personally,
and
I think I'd
just
have too much
left,
anxiety.
or because that could definitely be a possibility. Yeah, or she was like, "What am I doing with my life? Like, why am I here? Whatever." Like, you never know if people could flip for whatever reason. That's what I was thinking. It or
How
that could
old was
happen.
she? How old was
She was
she?
in her 30s, like her late 30s, early 40s.
And she had children?
Yeah, she had a 16-year-old and a disabled like uh child too.
Jeez.
Wow. And no, and nobody, like, they didn't watch her. They just let her go. Did they know she was tripping on the salvia, or was this after she
No, no,
came?
no. That was like, yeah, that was way after she was that, like, that was a week or like a month afterwards.
Okay, so she tried it, came back off the thing, and then she was normal, and then maybe she had some type of insight, and then one day she just decided to leave.
Yeah, yeah, like this was like months later.
Yeah, wow, wow. It could have, like, I mean, you hear it with married men that not even on the drug, they just get so fed up with their marriage, they just say, "I'm going to get bread or milk," and they just never come back. And they're just like,
But she had children though, and she abandoned her kids. So that, no.
And
it could,
she had a whole dentist business that she
yeah.
established.
So she might, I mean, some people walk away from, and I can't really fault them. It's like you see men do it to their children. You see, and it's not really, I would think, doing it to their children. It's sort of like just they're walking their path. Like my father's father, my grandfather was killed by, he was riding a bike, and a tractor trailer had unhinged, and he's riding up a hill, and it came down the hill and crushed him against a cement wall. And they said that he gotten, they were able to try to take him to the hospital in a cab, but he died in the cab. He was crushed. um and imagine, I think about my father, he never talked about it. Like, I never knew my grandfather. He was like maybe 11 or 12. So you look at that, he's coming home, and my grandmother, it's like her husband's killed. He's got a younger brother, Harry, and it's like I never really like thought about that. My mother never really talked about it a lot. So it was more of, they always had like a kind of a rough relationship. And when I look at it now and I say, wow, he had a story to talk about that, being that he was a man, it's like they treat you so, like, they don't care about a man suffering sometimes. And that's sad, because men go through a lot of stuff that, when I think about that, I say, wow, man, that's like not only tough for him, but I could imagine my grandmother, that what she went through. And yeah, I think about certain things and I wonder about that. I definitely, yeah, I just think about how things happen, how life happens. Like sometimes he didn't have the father there because he was killed basically through an accident, or maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe the oil company planned that, and maybe he might have been speaking out against something. And I think about stuff like that. So it really, when I look at people that go, like we come into the world alone, and we're definitely going to go out alone. We're born to die. That's like an Eskimo or Inuit saying. When they try to convert them to Christianity, and he goes, "Look, if you didn't tell me about this Jesus and all of that, would I go to hell if I didn't know?" And he's like, "No." He goes, "Then why did you tell me about it?" And it really, when you look at some of the religious stuff, it's horrible in some aspects. Then you see some beautiful people that are religious as well. So it's like, it's such a fine line. You see some people that are so beautiful because of their faith, or maybe it's because they're just a beautiful person, and it doesn't has as much to do with the faith, that anything they touch or encounter is going to be beautiful. And I've noticed people like that, whether they're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, they're, a beautiful person regardless. So when the Inuit were saying, he goes, "Look, I was born to die. That's my purpose here, to die." So now, in between life and death, that's the journey. It's kind of like Mark Twain said, the two most important days are the day you're born and the day you figure out why. And I wondered, figuring out that why, I guess that's why I don't really look forward to tripping on any hallucinogens or anything like getting high, because I guess there's a time in my life where I'm like, yeah, man, I got to get things secure, and just kind of, I'm trying to figure out life itself. It's really deep. It's an amazing trip. Life is a
Sure.
trip. you
But
know.
MD, I would say my piece of advice to you is if anybody comes to you and says, "Let me save you," they're full of crap. Don't
Oh
even
yeah, yeah. No,
Google it.
no, those people, it's like, even today with my friends, I know, they were trying to mean well, but I'm like, look, bro, I ain't trying to sit in a sweat lodge and, beat drums and, because they'll go to like these drum circles and all. And I'm like, man, I ain't trying to do nothing like that. And they'll be doing meditation on Thursday. I'm like, I'm not, if I want to do that, I'll do it in my own personal. I don't need to have somebody else assist me with that. And I appreciate the thing because I'm more of a solitude type of person. I'm
Sure.
not the person that wants to be in the
Well,
group. Yeah.
I think that's a big part of like spirituality. A big part of it is solitude. Like sacredness is a part of like secretness, and I do think that's where a lot of religiousness starts coming into play when you start doing this group dynamics thing. Uh,
Hmm.
but
Mm.
I do. That's why I think the purpose of like that is for fellowship and stuff. If you're gonna be gathering with people, it's for more than just the spiritual part. It's like, okay, we're
Hmm.
doing a communal thing here. Like we're trying to build something, and we're basing that off of like a spiritual foundation. I think that's a part of like the purpose of those
Hmm.
gatherings. But
Well,
if you're not,
but here is like fellowship. Wouldn't you agree? The mind.
that's true. But when it comes to like the gatherings that he's talking about with his friends, I do think there's a certain purpose. Like if you're going, it's not supposed to be for show. Like if you're going to be doing these things, I think a part of the native traditions, or a part of like the spiritual path, I think is part of being in tune, and a part of that attunement is like, I would have to say, growing your own dang food, like growing your own food, knowing when to plant the seeds, all that stuff should be a part of. I think personally, of this thing. If you're gonna do this group dynamics, it's just like, okay, look, we need to eat, we need to shelter ourselves, we need to be stable, not only spiritually but physically, uh, uh, emotionally, whatever. And if only one of those things are being met, or it's just like, look, we need to be spiritually good, and I got the good stuff right here. Right? It's just
Yeah.
like, okay, well, we're not doing this whole thing the right way because you're just focusing on getting high instead of like this whole group dynamics that we're all supposed to be engaging in, but we're only gathering for the getting high part.
Exactly. And that's why I think we used to record the session on the mini disc. And I mean, if we were just smoking weed, we wouldn't record it. But whenever we did the mushrooms, I got to look for those tapes if I still got them. But because I should have, we were going to review it and, and just try to learn from it. So, like, because I remember one time, one of my friends, Juan Carlos, we were going to take the mushrooms and he wanted to get on the train and we were going to go into the city. And I was like, well, maybe we should just try them and just see what happens. And when we ate them, they were like really powerful. And we would like just sitting there tripping, and I'm like, yo, it's a good thing we didn't get on the train, man. And he didn't care. He was like, he's a little older from like the Studio 54 days. So he's like so experienced in doing stuff like that, that it just on another level. Because he told me he's from Uruguay, and I had went and visited him in South America, and he said one time they found mushrooms in the field on the cow patties, and they picked them and had like a big bag full of the mushrooms. And he goes, we just started eating them. And I said, how much did you eat? He goes, till they were all gone. And I was like, holy smokes. And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, we were so blasted. He goes, we couldn't drive back. He goes, we had to just like lay down in the field and just trip. And I said, man, you were like on like another level of getting high, man. And he would have experiences. And so I felt safe when I tripped with him, but he was just a little too daring. And then when my friend Pete came over while we were tripping, and about an hour into it, and he came over and he's like, "Hey, how are the mushrooms?" Because he had gave it to us, and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Are they strong?" I said, "Man," I said, "when you walked in, I said it was like you were stepping on the moon or something, man." I said, "That's how blasted I was." I said, I just," and he's like, "Really?" He goes, "I didn't even really, you didn't look like you were feeling that way." I said, "Yes, I was just," I said, "those things were great." I think we must have tripped for about 6, 7 hours. It was just, yeah, man, the Studio 54 disco days. Yeah, he used to tell me stories because he came here in the late 70s from Uruguay when it was a communist country, a dictatorship. He thought it was paradise in New York City. And I learned so much because I'd be like, "Hey man, the Studio 54." He had went to Studio 54 because his friend and stuff, was all into the business, had drugs and all of that back then. And he goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "We used to get in like we come in the limo and stuff." And I was like, "Holy smokes." And then he told me, he said, actually, Studio 54 wasn't really one of the biggest clubs. He said Bonds was a more bigger one, and the Palladium. The Palladium was very well known back then because I have older siblings too that grew up in the Studio 54 time. Um, yeah, man.
Whole different time, was it an MD? I mean, we were little kids back then,
Yeah,
but
exactly. We were little kids, yeah, and these
no internet,
guys,
face to
yeah,
face, totally
yeah.
different.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I learned so much because of my older siblings, and I met Juan Carlos like later on when I like in the early 2000s. So we just clicked together, and
Hmm.
we hung out for a while. We went to Dominican Republic together, hung out, met a lot of like people there, a lot of women. Had great times, and I think I still got some of the pictures and stuff. And then I went to Amsterdam. He couldn't get free from work, so I told him bring me to the airport, and he was surprised I was still going. I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm going, bro." And
I'd
then
love to see Amsterdam. That looks
oh,
beautiful.
oh, it was great, man. I think it changed a little, they said, but
Hmm.
and then I went to visit him in Uruguay a couple years later, and yeah, yeah, it was cool, man. It was definitely
But if I did go, I don't think I'd be doing anything crazy, just having a beer, basically, some
yeah.
alcohol. But yeah, I'm not really into
Well,
hallucinating.
you probably would like it because I think the Heineken brewery is there.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
that's
they have that. They have like if you like to drink alcohol, they have a lot of like historic stuff. The Heineken brewery, I think a few other major beer breweries too. Um, and the red light district is there. It's
but I'm not.
really
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
not. I wouldn't even after. I don't know how it'd be after I finish my Lupron injections, but I'm sure there's beautiful women. But it's just always been a turnoff for me to think, I could have been the 10th guy that day. It's just a
Well,
turnoff.
if you go early in the day, like because
Early in the
I used to.
day.
Yeah, I would hang out with them. I mean, they would tell me, "Hey, I'm getting off at 4. If you want, we'll go have some coffee at the shop," and then they walk them to the train station because we were like girls that I met would talk to other girls, and then they would introduce me to them, and it was cool for the time I was there. Um,
Don't get me wrong. I think it should be legal. I think it should
yeah,
be.
no,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, they would sit and tell me stories about, how they got into business, and it just we just became really cool. And, a couple of them, I still got pictures and stuff with them. And yeah, it was a great experience. My friend said when he went, it's a little change, but I also noticed they treat you different because the way you are, like if you look at them like you don't judge them, they can kind of sense that.
Right.
And it's sort of like, yeah, come on, I remember one time I had like strawberries and I had a couple of joints and one girl was like, "Oh yeah, I like that." So we were eating the strawberries and I was like, "Yeah, about to smoke this joint if you want to," she goes, "Sure." She hung out and then she goes, "Yeah, I'm getting off later." We were just cool, man, and it just yeah, it worked out. Like they were like, "Yeah, you're a really cool guy," because I was just there to have fun. It wasn't like most Americans would go there and kind of be a little judgmental. They might
Oh yeah. No, I'm not saying in any way I'd be judgmental
yeah, it
or
would get
like that. It's just
political
kind of a
and stuff.
turnoff. That's
Yeah,
all.
because I remember this lady that was in the hotel I was staying at. They were from America,
Hmm.
and they were like, "Oh yeah, we came here from America," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How does it feel to be in a free country?" and she looked at me like, what do you mean? Like America's free? And I was like, she just don't get it, you know. I'm like, yeah, America's free. We can't even smoke a goddamn joint in America without uh the Gestapo, you know, racist police trying to say something. But uh, you know, we're over here, you know, because I don't know if she went there for that purpose, but again, most people are minions of the state. They don't
I agree.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, look at marijuana the way it is now. It's
oh
totally
yeah.
legal and it's good for you.
Yeah, and people, you know, I tell people, I'm like, yeah, this is the same stuff that they were criminalizing people over,
That's
and
right.
it's a plant, you know, it's we should be able to do what we want to do, and that's like the other stream when we talked about the insanity laws and stuff. They basically look at us like we, you know, that they have the right or something to terrorize us, and the crazy thing is, you have a large part of the population that will say that they don't even see that. They don't look at that as true. They look at us as the enemy because we want to be free.
Yeah.
And that, yeah,
I'm
you
not
know,
trying to brag, but I remember telling people years ago that eventually they're going to legalize marijuana. And they all kind of gave me a look like, what's this guy talking about? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Drug addict or something like that.
yeah. I mean, it's just Tommy Chong said it best. He said it like when they first had the medical and then they legalized recreational, and they go, "What do you think about recreational?" He goes, "It's all medical." He
Yeah.
goes, he goes, it's a medical plant. He goes, it's a healing plant. He said, so, you know, he goes, you just and Cheech and Chong were big, man,
In the
the
70s.
70s. Yeah, it's just I don't know, they must have been around before that, but I didn't know until Cheech was saying, he goes, they sold more albums than the Beatles.
Mm.
So their comedy albums, because I remember one of the guys today, he's older. He's like a boomer. And he goes, yeah, when he bought that album, because I remember older people telling me too, and when I was a kid, they go, yeah, the album came with a sheet of rolling paper the size of the album.
Wow.
So and the people would, you know, they would roll these gigantic joints. I was like, holy smokes, this is amazing. So I thank goodness that I even got to see a glimpse of that generation because I was too young to experience it.
Hmm.
And the 80s were kind of, you know, they were the inflation with Reagan. It was okay.
It was pretty good. It was.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was pretty okay. The video game stuff, but you know, it got better. And once it got to the 90s, I didn't realize how good the 90s were until now. You know, I look
Mhm.
back and I say, wow, the 90s were, you know, I should have been on the internet. I think the internet went online in 91 with the basic internet,
Right.
AOL online. I didn't know about it till like the 2000s. And
That's right. I did have AOL dial up at that time. Now I remember.
yeah, I never knew about that. I would have loved that. You know, Scribe was on that too. He was like maybe in his teens, and yeah, I was just like, man, you know, I was just getting the service, and it just it was a great time when I look back at it. The late 90s, beautiful, early 2000s, and then it started. I think it was the golden age of the internet was from like '04 to 2014, maybe around there. And then it's
I would like to give a nostalgic thing I remember.
yeah, yeah.
I remember I'm not okay, I'm 23. I mean, I'm 33, right? But so I was born in 92. So I
Hmm.
feel like I relate to the 90s a lot when it comes
Oh
to
yeah,
this stuff.
yeah.
But one thing that is very nostalgic that doesn't happen nowadays is finding payphones,
Oh,
specifically in the mall. I remember when I was growing up, there was
yeah,
payphones in the mall,
yeah,
and one time I got a. I was just at the mall, and one of the payphones ringed, and I picked up the payphone, and they're like, "Hello," and I was like, "What the heck, brothers?" I told my brother, "Somebody's on the other line." They just called this payphone, and my brother just said, "Yeah, right." And he hung up the phone, and I was just like, "What the heck?" But yeah, that was a nostalgic thing. Payphones at the mall.
yep.
Hmm.
Payphones.
I used to use
Uh,
them. I know.
yeah, the payphones were very nostalgic. The video cassettes, regular cassette players. It was amazing because I think CDs
Sony
were in
Walkmans.
yep, the Sony Walkmans, the yeah, it was a beautiful time. When I look back, the nostalgia was just great, man. It just the payphones, yeah, man. That's really nostalgia. I remember seeing them on like by like convenience stores and bodegas.
Phone freaking. Do you remember that?
The what?
Phone freaking.
No, what was that?
There is a. Did you ever watch the movie called War Games?
Yeah, I remember that.
In that movie, there's a kid. I think he does a little bit of phone freaking in there, and it's basically where you're like hacking the phone system by doing different beeps, and it only worked with those kind of
Like
phones back in the day, like the
digital phones.
no, not digital,
Or the
The
push button.
rotary, the
analog.
rotary phones.
Yeah, the rotary. It only worked with the old school like payphones and
Oh,
stuff.
I remember the rotary too, because I
You
remember
can
rotary phones when I was young. That it took a while. If somebody had like 8, 9, and 0 in their phone number, you'd have to dial it and then wait for it to return to the original position, and then put your finger and move the circle.
I remember
And
that.
yeah, it's like it was amazing. And then when the push button phone came, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Or
The
the
push.
cordless. Woo!
Oh yeah, the cordless was like it was just
With the
amazing.
antenna on it.
Yep, yeah, the antenna and it just I look back at that and it was beautiful
Remember
when I look back
the
at
voice
the
machines? Remember those
the
things?
voice. Yep, exactly, man. It just yeah, yeah, it was a great time and seeing the progression. Those were the golden age. Like I would say the decades that were
Mhm.
probably the golden decades were like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and
And
then
I might be biased, but I think the 80s was a great time to be a teenager.
yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It
Good
wasn't.
movies, video games, arcades. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
had it all.
yeah. I didn't experience a lot of it. I was very, very impoverished. Like I remember working in the late 80s and stuff. And, I was working at the supermarket. It was only like maybe $3 an hour.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I got another job at a factory making $5 an hour. And I thought that was a lot of money. And, I think I filed taxes when I was 15 or 16. And then eventually I went in the military and yeah, it wasn't a lot of money. I guess and I did have good times in the 80s. I remember I definitely had some good times. It was I guess if I could experience more because I never had an Atari. I remember
Oh, you
some.
didn't have, oh, really? So I had an Atari. I had all
Yeah,
that.
because I remember people had the Atari. It was like out of the question. I never had like cable TV. But
Oh,
when I think about watching what I could watch, like late at night in like the mid 80s, I would stay up late at night and watch The Odd Couple, The Honeymooners, and then Star Trek would come on at midnight. And then from 1 to 1:30 was The Twilight Zone. And then after that, no television programming was on. It was like it had see that's something that we don't have today. You actually got a break from TV because you couldn't watch there was nothing to watch unless you had a VCR.
yeah.
So
Or
yeah,
cable.
that's crazy.
yeah, so I look at that like, wow, that was actually a good thing in a way.
Nowadays, we're just completely brainwashed 24 hours.
Yes, 24 hours. I start to see that being able to have that break was much better than what we have today, where there's no break. It's just constant. You just don't have any, anytime you want it, you just got to turn it on. And it can be comforting at times,
Mhm.
great, but because I remember in the 90s, like if I'm waking up late, that's where I saw, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like 2 in the morning, watching it till like 4 in the morning or something. Because that's a long movie too. I think it's like 3 hours. But it was fun. I'm there, just watching it, you
Yeah,
know.
and you didn't have a choice over it. Like nowadays, it's this instant gratification dopamine hit thing that they program like this algorithm.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It felt better that I didn't have a choice. It felt better that oh wow, I caught this and it's on, like kind of like
Mm.
back when you would hear a song on the radio, it was spontaneous. It was sort of like, wow, this just happened. It's like going somewhere and meeting some friends there and being like, holy smokes, you here too, and you just have a good time together. You didn't
You remember
plan
the
it.
Warriors, that movie, The Warriors? Like, it
Yeah,
was
I
a big
remember.
deal to catch it on TV.
Yep, yep. I remember the Warriors. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was really, it was a great time when I think about it. The '80s were a great time. The '90s were a great time, and the early 2000s. The early 2000s were really great. Uh, Coming after like 2010, it was still pretty cool. But then as we progressed, going into like 2017, 2018, we started seeing like now, the last what 8 years or something, it's been a change. 2020, it was okay. It just we're just moving so far ahead. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's happening. There's definitely.
I would want to say something real quick before we move on.
Yeah, go
Uh, when it comes to like all the good stuff from the 80s, the 70s and stuff, I was saying I do want to be like an archivist, right? And I do want to archive stuff. And I mean, with the technology we have nowadays, even from let's say a phone from 2012 has the enough tech in it to basically have emulators to have every system from like the the 70s up into like the PS1, the PS2, out to the PS1 or the
Hmm.
PS2 yeah, the PS1
Hmm.
to the early 2000s, the 70s to the early 2000s, you could have all the video games within one phone from those generations. So that's pretty amazing. I think
Yeah.
one
I
yeah,
have a
yeah.
Raspberry Pi 3 that I don't know if it still works, but a friend of mine, he put every video game on that Raspberry Pi. I think I paid like $80 for it. This was like back in 2016, about 10 years now. And it has every Nintendo game, every Super Nintendo. I got to figure out how to get back into it because it's like a little device that I don't even think is as powerful as, like you were saying, the cell phone from 2012. It could be because it was 2016, 20, yeah, around 2016. And but yeah, I remember it having all of the video games all from the arcade, all of the Super Nintendo, the regular Nintendo, the Dreamcast. Yeah, he was like a computer wizard. I don't know how he got all the stuff, but yeah, you're right. You can archive stuff from, yeah, forget it, man. I mean, I would think.
I'm able to compress a file like a 6 hour video into a less than 1 gig of data.
Wow, wow,
Mm.
it's amazing, man. The technology we have today, the fact that that would have taken. You look at the amount of videotapes or even CDs; they're just obsolete. It's
Yeah.
like, why would somebody want to even use a DVD anymore when you can
But
just?
wasn't it fun to go to the VHS store, though, to pick out a movie?
It
Well,
was fun.
DVDs are good still. I still think DVDs are good, and literally, I can now with the compression rates of how things are. With the DVD back in the day, you could only hold what like 8 hours or 4 hours at the most in a DVD. Now we're able to put 24 hours of video footage in a DVD.
Yeah, yeah, but even self, it's like, why would I even want to use a DVD when I can use a
I
flash drive and play it on a media player where I can just skip to any part? You know what I mean? I don't have to like the
Well,
DVD.
the DVD would have the file that would have the same file for in the flash drive. It would just be on a DVD.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
would also be an alternative storage medium because DVDs do last longer than flash drives because flash drives are known to like crash more, like their data gets corrupted faster as opposed to a DVD unless it gets scratched. That's the only way for the data to get corrupted.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I guess they have new flash drivers all the time too. They have like the mini ones now or something from, because I remember a few years ago they had like the USB, the smaller USB now. It's like a mini. I don't know if they still.
They always try to sell you something better and say it's better than what was before, but don't
Yeah,
always buy the
yeah, I
hype.
like the old stuff. Yeah, the old stuff. I'm addicted to the old stuff because simple old. I know how to use it. The basic flash drives. Now I heard you can't get a computer with a CD drive anymore, like a DVD drive. They don't
Yeah,
sell.
that's the reason. That's for a reason. Don't forget they like to intentionally try to degrade technology because they want to control. If they know there's a benefit, they're going to try to charge us for it. And yeah, DVD drives had more usage than they want to give credit for.
Hmm. And they used to have like I heard they're lessening on the hard drive space now too because they want people to keep storage on the cloud.
Yep.
So it's like,
Right.
they won't, it's slowly, they're trying to encroach their control more and more. And it's like, who knows what would be, they do it with convenience. This is why I try to still use the computer as much as I can over the phone. Like I only use the phone if I'm talking or if I'm texting. So if I have to use it for the internet, like to check an email, okay, at least I have the option, but I'd rather do it on the computer. It's just I'm trying to hold on. It's easier too. I got a bigger, you can see on a regular screen. Even a tablet screen is not as big, but yeah, it's changing. It's changing. I could imagine in 10 years. I mean, even 5 years. I mean, who knows? It's like stuff is even 5 years ago from now, they had the different type of hard drives from solid state. They went to this NVMe or something, or it's supposed to be a much quicker time. Scribe knows about it. And now I could imagine what they got. So yeah, yeah, man. No, this has been a great conversation, bro. This is like learning. Brother Ali said you guys are talking about DVD, CDs. I miss those radio days. Yeah, brother, I miss it too, man. The radio days were so great, man. They were great. Email. There's me emailing MTG girls. Oh, smoke. Hilarious, bro. Good to hear you. I'm gonna check it now. Yeah, it's 1:45 here, 1:46. I got to get up kind of early. Mr. Rex, the Mind Man, thank you guys. Everybody in the chat, Brother Ali, bro, thank you. Disney K, everybody else, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk again tonight. You're off tonight too, right? Wednesday night, Mr. Rex?
So far, yeah, unless they call me for emergency,
Yeah.
but
So
I'll
yeah.
be
So,
back.
yeah,
Thanks
well,
again for having these streams up to you. They're great.
definitely, bro. Great
Thanks for
having
coming
you
on to
here.
mine.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be off too today, tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'll stream tonight, man. I'll think of a good topic, maybe just an open conversation. We'll talk soon, guys. Take care. Have a
All
great
right.
night. All
Take
right.
Great.